Good evening, race fans, and welcome to PCA Sim Racing, powered by Podium Esports here on the iRacing Esports Network. Tonight, live from the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in Spa, Belgium. I'm James Pike, the voice of Podium Esports, alongside Taylor Burris. And Taylor, this is the PCA, the A standing for America, but for the first time, we go outside of the United States to race in PCA Sim Racing, and our first adventure across North America and to Europe sees us tackle the arguably longest road course of them all. These are the most famous road courses in the world. This is hands down the longest of them all. Plenty of straights, plenty of speed, but so much history here too. It is a fantastic, classic road course.
Of course, and welcome everyone to Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. I mean, this circuit is by far one of the most challenging, difficult, exciting, and fun race circuits in the world, I would have to say. Of course, we see sports car racing here with the 24 hours of Spa, but who could forget such history it has? I mean, watching in such as the 1970 Porsche's 917Ks just barreling down these long straightaways when it was one of the original circuits back in the 70s. I mean, this track and Porsche have so much history together. I'm looking forward to seeing what these 911 RSRs can do here with these drivers.
As we take a look at the schedule, as our producer Cisco Scarbuzz whispers in my ear. Clearly, he's feeling a little bit more British tonight than usual. We take a look at the final few races here. The halfway point of the series schedule, at least as far as Series 4 goes. 4 races after the night: Road Atlanta, Sebring, the reskinned Silverstone circuit, and then Road America at the end of April to round out the spring season for PCA Sim Racing. And we'll be entertained, to say the least. Road Atlanta is our friend Drew Adamson's favorite track because it can do no wrong just about. Sebring is a classic track where Porsche had tons of history. Silverstone, so much speed that you carry through those straights. Then Road America, I think, gave us one of the best races of all of PCA Sim Racing's history back in August of 2019. So pretty good lineup, Taylor Burris, to carry us through the rest of the season.
No doubt. Looking forward to seeing all these cars racing at these historic race courses in the coming weeks. But right now we're finishing up with qualifying, and I got to say, Michael J. Wassel back up on the top of the leaderboard for qualifying. I think pretty much he's qualified on the front row just about every race we started, except for maybe last round at VIR.
He's been very, very particularly quick, no question about it, as we take you through how PCA Sim Racing works. If you're new to the broadcast and haven't had a chance to watch them, we split things up this year into 4 different classes: the rookie class, the sportsman class, the club class, and the pro class. These are all divided either by whether or not you participated in PCA Sim Racing before this season. All of those who are newcomers immediately go into the rookie class. The sportsman class is for drivers with an iRating 1300 or south. The club class is anybody from 1300 to 2000 in iRating, and then 2000 and up compete in the pro class. So a division of 3 different groups and 3 different sets of drivers with varying skill sets. iRating, for those of you unfamiliar with iRacing, is the metric that iRacing calculates and uses to effectively tell people how good you are in the grand scheme of drivers and what sort of driving ability and talent that you have. So your most experienced, most professional drivers will race in that pro class in the second race, because they race with the club drivers. On the second half of our doubleheader, it'll be the sportsmen and the pro drivers that get to race on the first half of our doubleheader. And a stacked field. We have nearly 50 cars in this field, Taylor Burris. It is one of the biggest fields in PCA history all over again. As qualifying wraps up, and we will go ahead and take you through your starting grid and tell you where your favorite driver is going to start. Michael Wassel sets down a qualifying time of 2 minutes 14.757 seconds to take the pole in this rookie and sportsman race tonight at Spa. Cliff Kerr will roll off from the second spot. Jeff C. will start in the 3rd position, and Trey Geralhorn rolls off from 4th. Aaron Nash will roll off from the 5th spot, 6th. So you'll find Sean Benet. Chris Dubby will roll off from the 7th spot. 8th will be Igor Soiker. Joseph Stiffel begins tonight for the 9th spot. And 10th will be Colin Thomas.
Bruce Robinson in the 386 car will be starting in the 11th position with Drew Kenny in 12th. Brian Swift will be starting in the 13th position with Gregory Sampson in 14th. Andrew Elsom will be starting in the 15th position with Francois Grayling in 16th. James Sue will be starting in the 17th position with Edward Nelson in 18th. 19th goes to Christian Rava, and rounding out your top 20, Cameron Leslie.
Paul Solk starts in 21st, and Mike Dine starts in 22nd. Faisal Yamin rolls on for the 23rd spot. Patrick Gill begins his campaign tonight in 24th. 25th will be Dwayne Cronin. Donald Binkley starts 26th. 27th will be Randall Ayers. James Legault will start from 28th. John D'Angelo begins tonight from 29th. 30th will be Scott Nell.
31st, Rich Raybrook, followed by Tim Lambie in 32nd, Owen Pruden in 33rd with James Bernard in 34th, Brady McMacken in 35th with Jody Papora in 36th, Ryan McGee 37th, Ronald Cahill in 39th, and then rounding out your top 40, Shahar Katz.
41st and onward are as follows. It's Brendan Jadot, Henry Rogers, Alex Hellier, Javier Trevino, Lanre Sarubi, Jonathan Patterson, Scott Bellis, Gary Rice, Stephen Bukowski, Kurt Clifford, and Tyler Edwards. Final 8 starters are Rodney Campbell, Brian Himmelman, Nick Fisher, Robert Cottle, Matthew Mitchell, Lance Wilsey, Timothy Watson, and Lee McNeil. This is the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, a 4.35-mile, 7-kilometer flat road course in 20 turns. We're racing in the classic pits layout, so the pits are right after they come through the hairpin at La Sauce. We race in the morning. In-sim time is 8 o'clock on the dot, and it is currently 65 degrees outside. Track temp is 67 degrees, so moderately temperature track. Should be relatively grippy. Sun may be an issue depending on where you catch it. Could get into some of these drivers' eyes, but in either case, we're glad to have you along for the ride, and we look forward to showing you all of the action from PCA Sim Racing tonight at Spa. Should be very entertaining, Taylor Burris.
It will most definitely be a lot of difficult corners that these drivers will have to face, especially when they come up to the first set of corners at Rouge and the Réveillon. I mean, those are some of the most iconic corners here at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they're able to accomplish and seeing if they can survive. Now that they're coming out of the bus stop, and we're getting ready to turn over 50 cars loose here at this historic race circuit.
And a reminder that the start-finish line also is on the backstretch on the run-up to Rouge Médaillon. But it's all about Michael Wassel, who will have control of this group, and we will see how they fare through Rouge as he gets on the gas and waits for his moment to go. Oh, everybody waits for a green flag is out, and race 4 of Series 4 of PCA Sim Racing for the rookies and the sportsmen is underway. Wassel jumped ahead by about 2 or 3 car lengths over Cliff K and Jeff C as they all go side by side up through Rouge and Réveillon for the first time.
Pretty much very clean for the first time as they all work their way up through Rouge and the Réveillon, down, heading down the Kemmel straight for the first time. And we might have ourselves a battle for the lead right now as the pass of Cliff Kerr will go to the inside of Wassel.
There goes Cliff K, the 008 around that number 7 machine. Meanwhile, Jeff C trying to fight off some other cars a little bit further back. Trey Drawhorn has already jumped ahead of C to take over that 3rd spot. So nice start for Drawhorn as he pushes on. He'll try and run down Wassel, who's about a second up the road already, as Drawhorn gets a little bit loose down there coming down the hill.
They're coming out of Bruxelles and heading into No Name for the first time as well. So a great start for these drivers. Single file pretty much throughout the top 10 after we saw that pass for lead. A couple of drivers lock checked up a little bit as they come out of No Name. That was Andrew Elsom in the 981 Porsche. That gives the opportunity for Francois Grayling to gain a little ground.
Francois Grayling beginning to poke his nose and poke his way up to the field. He's up to 16th. Meanwhile, though, still Cliff K ahead of Wassel, and Drawhorn has backed it up in front of Jeff C, as C is now pretty much right on the rear bumper of that 395 machine. Sean Benet also there. Everybody just sort of in a line and in a caravan waiting to separate themselves over the course of the next hour or so.
Hour or about 27 laps these drivers will be running here tonight, so a lot of time to take your time, make sure you hit your marks, race the track at the first half of this race. You'll be racing these competitors pretty much for the next hour, but also anything can happen. A lot of mistakes can be made, even the leaders, so this track has even been known to take out some of the biggest names in motorsports as they say head up towards the bus stop chicane. Let's see if they all make it through cleanly.
Everybody all clean through the bus stop in the old chicane that was there way back in the day. Meanwhile, a little bit further back, you have to slide back to Chris Duffy, Aaron Nash. Those two were side by side down the traditional front straight. Big dive, though. I couldn't tell. And I think Duffy got into Kenny and Schleicher. Couldn't tell who that was a little bit further back. That might have been. We'll try and take
Aaron
a look
Nash.
and see who it was. Aaron Nash is the one responsible who just had a big send off into the final corner at La Source and just got on the brakes a little bit too hard. Couldn't get wound up in time.
Looks like Chris Duffy's going to come down pit road as well after that incident. So we'll have to see how long he'll be on pit road as he makes his way to its pit box.
It's actually Drew Kenny that got into Aaron Nash. So we'll see whether or not race control hits him. In the meantime, Igor Schleicher racing side by side with Joseph Stiffel, who's been one of the best drivers in these races all season long.
Igor Schleicher has been very competitive all season long. A great driver, great competitor. Almost had a shot at winning at the last round at VIR, but could not close the deal. So we'll have to see what he can do here. As he's coming out of Bruxelles, he's in battle with Joseph Stiffel, who's about a few tenths up the road from him as I go down to the no-name.
And down through this very, I think, tricky, complex, and very precise downhill section. Just because you've got corners here where you can be lazy because the radius of each corner is so wide, but you have to be very particular about where you are on the throttle, where you are on the RPMs. Very much an easy to learn, difficult to master section, I think, of this track, because optimum speeds downhill are very much just entirely based upon just how much throttle you can apply and get away with it and how quickly you can find that edge.
It's all about rhythm, knowing when and where to hit your marks throughout this circuit. There's a lot of areas where you can carry a little bit more speed probably than others, but then there's a lot of times where you have to get on the binders and just load the car up in order to make the corner. It's all about timing, getting in that rhythm and hitting your marks lap after lap after lap. That's where it's critical for these drivers, and that could cost them either the victory or the chance to where they can end up in pit road out of the race. So we'll have to see what they can do tonight as they now work their way into the bus stop. A little bit of a brake checkup, but it looks a bit for the 23 of Colin Thomas, which checks up the rest of the field, causing Stiffel and Schleicher to catch back up.
So Stiffel and Schleicher now beginning to fight each other again. Seems like those two have been attached at the hip throughout Series 4. They've been some of the best drivers in this opening race, the doubleheader on Friday nights. And here they are again, both running in top 10. They're still all chasing Cliff Kerr in the 008. Michael Wassell's been able to keep up with them. Trey Drawhorn and Jeff C. also in a pretty solid battle for third. Then a little bit of a gap back to Sean Bonet, and then space upon space upon space until you get to this group of Thomas and Stiffel and Schleicher, and it looks like Schleicher will head to the inside of Joseph Stiffel to try and complete this move as they head through the Kemmel straight down to 7, 8, 9 and through the Lacombe section of this course.
Still want to keep an eye on the battle amongst the top four. There's a battle for the lead going on between Wassell and Kerr, and then Trey Drawhorn and Jeff C. C has been doing very good, consistent laps, keeping up with the pace of Trey Drawhorn now as they come out of Bruxelles and heading into No Name. So a great job he has been doing. Not really seen C up towards the front of the field, so this could be a track where we could see a lot of new faces up inside the top 10 and top 5 before the night's over with.
Especially because there's so much room here by comparison, given how long this track is. And you've got a decent amount of runoff room through the Ardennes Forest where we are as well. So plenty of space to separate yourself and get away from other cars and or begin to set your own pace and start chasing down some of these drivers as the racing progresses. But for the moment, it is still Kerr and Wassell that are parading this field ahead of Drawhorn and C. As Faisal Yamin and Patrick Gill have both pulled their cars down pit road for service already.
Yeah, early pit stops are going to be going ahead and starting here probably in the next few laps as well. Some people trying to see if they can leapfrog their competition when they come down pit road. But due to the fact that this track is so big, it's very difficult to try to do that and plan it accordingly. So I have to keep track on Patrick Gill and Faisal Yamin to see how well they will do once the leaders start making their way into pit road.
Meanwhile, a really tight battle between Trey Drawhorn and Jeff C. C was all over the rear bumper on that 395. The Chicago region driver trying to hold on to that third spot as best he can. Meanwhile, Wassell has kept in touch with Cliff Kerr. It's not more than maybe 4 or 5 car lengths at best.
Yeah, a great battle indeed amongst these drivers. Let's see what they can be able to do as they're working their way out of La Source and heading up to Air Rouge and the Retillon. Is these drivers going to be able to keep up with each other, or will there be mistakes made as they work their way up through Air Rouge and the Retillon? Great battling that they are trying to do. As a couple of cars are coming off pit road, so it could provide a challenge for some of those towards the back who are working their way up.
We'll see who decides to pop out. Meanwhile, Jeff C sliding back a little bit. I think Trey Jawhorn got a really good run through Eau Rouge and Radion, so he will make it through Lacombe and not have to worry so much.
Battle for
car.
Battle for 6. Igor Swicker looks to the inside of Colin Thomas as they go through Lacombe. A great pass for the number 22 Porsche 911 RSR as he will easily get by Colin Thomas and move into the top 6.
As they all come down towards Bruxelles. Very, very solid stuff for Seuker at this stage. He was climbing up a few spots. He's now up into the 6th position after starting in 8th. So a lot of speed there. He started to lead Joseph Stiffel behind, and now it's Stiffel who's fighting Colin Thomas for that 7th spot as they work towards Pouhon.
Great battle as they look to the inside of Pouhon. Great pass. Thomas, a little contact right there by the looks of things as they were coming out of Pouhon. So let's see if Stiffel is able to pull away. He will over Colin Thomas as they now work their way up through the rest of the circuit. And he has really gained some ground on Seuker.
So Seuker, Stiffel, Thomas now back into the 8th spot. Seuker up to 6th. Next man up the road is Sean Benet, who is about 6 seconds ahead of Seuker. So a little bit of work that number 22 is going to have to do. Meanwhile, it is still Jeff C right on the rear of Trey Jawhorn. He has not let that 395 go. And the driver out of the high desert region of the PCA, that's if you go from Bend, Oregon and go northeast to the northeastern corner of the state, that's about all of the high desert region's geographical territory, and their representative Jeff C chasing Trey Jawhorn, who's one of a few drivers up towards the front of the field, representing the Chicago region of the PCA that handles everything within the Chicagoland area.
I tell you what, Jeff C really put a lot of pressure as they went to the bus stop chicane and takes a peek to the inside as he comes out of La Source. A great drive indeed for the number 3 Porsche 911 RSR as he comes around to complete lap number 4 and head up El Rouge and the Réveillon once again.
What kind of run can he get up through Eau Rouge already on towards Lacombe? Very decent stuff from Jeff C. He'll get a little bit of a tow from Jawhorn coming down the Camel Straight into Lacombe. Might have the opportunity to dip to the inside of that number 395 going into turn 7, but he backs up the corner enough to where he will not challenge Trey Jawhorn at this time. In the meantime, that's also allowed Sean Benet to catch up here. Well, there's a big gap from Benet to Seuker, who runs in 6th. Benet is now all over the rim upper of C, and this is a veritable 3-car battle for the 3rd spot as they come through Bruxelles.
Great battling amongst the top these 3 drivers to get that final stop to the podium as they come through No Name once again before they head to Pouhon. And still Benet closing a little bit, about 3 or 4 car lengths away from Jeff C now as they head into Pouhon. And let's see if he's able to gain a little ground through that section. Hits the apex perfectly, washes up the track just a hair to make the next apex, and now heads his way into the Campus and Stavelo section of the course.
Really interesting section, I think, that one, especially as you come through Pouhon, because it almost acts as a double apex corner, and you can switch up your entry and your exit in a lot of different places within that corner in particular, and even to some degree through the Campus Stavelo section as they work their way towards the Code Paul Frere. So plenty of opportunities and options to change the way you race this course. And especially as they make their way through Blanchimont and up through turn 17, 18 to the final chicane on this course, really can change things. But all of a sudden, what about the run Jeff C's got here? They both lay off the gas just a little bit. We'll see make the move to try to get to the inside of Jawhorn in turn 19. He'll look down there. He looks and gets to the rear quarter panel and gets to the inside and then has to back out of it. But Jawhorn goes wide and then rejoins the racetrack. Now here comes Sean Benet to the inside of Jeff C as they work their way down towards La Source.
What a great battle right there. Could they make it 3 wide as they head to La Source? You see Jeff C to the inside. There goes Benet, going to take it 3 wide in La Source, something you don't see every day. Great job for Benet and C to get by Trey Jawhorn. What a pass.
I wish there were Formula One drivers who had the ability to watch that and take notes, because it seems like every time they go any more than 2 wide through La Source, they end up tearing each other apart. But we just saw 3 wide with the 911 RSRs through one of the tightest corners in all of motorsport. Not a scratch on any of them. As Jeff C goes to the 3rd spot and Sean Benet goes to 4th.
C goes to the inside, Jawhorn goes to the high side, and then Benet's like, okay, I'll take you both in the middle and hope for the best. And they both, all 3, make it through. I've never seen anything quite done perfectly than that.
Incredible stuff from that trio as they return towards Bruxelles and try and figure out who wants to run through No Name with that P3 spot. Benet is the one who will now have to charge and try and catch C. Meanwhile, Wassel still sitting within a second of Cliff Kayer. It's only about 4 or 5 car lengths between the 7 and the 008. So not too much room for error if you are Kayer, the driver out of the Carolinas region, which covers most of the Piedmont of North Carolina and some of upstate South Carolina. Winston-Salem, Greensboro, High Point, Charlotte, Greenville, Spartanburg, amongst some of the municipalities that you find in the Carolina region. Wassel is a member of the Los Angeles region of the PCA. And Taylor Burris, I wonder if you know which city the Los Angeles region of the PCA covers. I figure it's probably a pretty difficult one to guess.
I'm just going to have to go off the top of my head and say Los Angeles, California.
You know, that's a really good guess because you're right. It does represent the Los Angeles municipality, or at least part of it. The LA metro area is actually split into about 4 or 5 different regions, all of whom have representatives that you'll see either in this race or in the second half of tonight's doubleheader, which will feature drivers from the PCA Club and PCA Pro classes of PCA Sim Racing. So we'll try and take you through all those groups and see if we can find some representatives of all those regions as we work our way through tonight's broadcast. But good battles here. Joseph Stiffel now trying to hold off Igor Soiker and Colin Thomas and company as we start seeing some line traffic come through. We slide a little bit further back. Gregory Sampson and Christian Rava in a pretty good battle. Francois Grayling and Andrew Elsom out of the Beach State region in a very, very good battle as they come through La Source. Elsom, the Beach State driver, and I feel like we talk about them every week, is Grayling goes a little bit wide, but
Hold on.
does hold on, as Grayling is one of the drivers from the Gold Coast region of the PCA. That is South Florida. That's Palm Beach, Miami, Key West. If you live down on that strip, Grayling can be the driver to cheer for. Elson, though, one of the many drivers from the Peach State region, the Godfather region of PCA Sim Racing that had its own league within its own region before PCA National took it up, as Elson continues to pressure Grayling as they arrive at the Cove.
Great pressure indeed for Andrew Elsom as they come out of Lacombs once again. And you see that pressure. You see them both hitting the apex and coming off corner exit. That's what you need to do when surviving this circuit, making sure you hit your apex and then make sure that car tracks out just wide enough to where it just makes the corner perfectly, as they have to come up across the spinner right there. I didn't catch who that was, but that was a close call for both those drivers as they worked their way out of No Name.
Nick Fisher was the one who was stopped at the inside of Bruxelles and nearly caused major issues. But as it stands, everybody carries on, and it's still a pretty good battle between Grayling and Elsom. And James Sue now has entered the fray and is going to try and challenge Elsom for that 14th position, entering turn 13 and the Campos-Stavilo complex here.
Yeah, great battle right here as James Sua has got it into the mix. We've seen him run inside the top 15, top 20 in the past previous races, so continuing his streak as they go up through Stavilo, as we see Elsom get on the brakes, lock it up a little bit, and is able to still hold off James Sua in the number 40, and now makes the run towards Blanchimont.
Sue, a driver out of the Upper Canada region of the PCA, one of the best represented in PCA Sim Racing. That covers Toronto and a very significant portion of the province of Ontario. So if you find yourself in that neck of the woods, you've got plenty of options to cheer for, not only in this race, but in the race a little bit later. There are some Upper Canada region drivers that are represented in the pro class, and some Upper Canada region drivers who are even part of the steering committee of the PCA. So pretty strong representation amongst that region of the PCA. Sue continues to pressure Elson. They look to head through La Source. Will Sue try and force the issue? He'll go wide with it and lock it up. And that, I think, gives Elsom just a bit of breathing room as they come across the start-finish line and work towards Oru and Ridion, but they come down pit road for service for the first time. Do Elsom and Sue on lap 7 at Spa.
Several other drivers come down pit road as well. Trey Drawhorn, Jeff C. as well will be coming down pit road. So there's some of our first front runners coming down to complete their first pit stop. But meanwhile, if we look through the field right now, it is still Cliff Kayers, your race leader. About half a second back is Michael J. Wassel. And then another 8 seconds back is Sean Benet, your top 3.
we return our eyes to the battle of Igor Soiker and Joseph Stiffel, two drivers that I feel like we've talked about so much here. Soiker, one of the Chesapeake region drivers, home region for PCA's marketing director, Tim Hebig, who we know is watching, but that's Baltimore, Annapolis, the eastern shore of Maryland, if you call that region home. And or maybe yell O during the national anthem, amongst other things. Igor Soiker could be one of your drivers as Soiker continues to pace Stiffel. These two, it's like every track we've gone to, every week in, week out, they've had some battle at some point. It's just a matter of when and where and for what position. Right now, it's for the 4 spot that these two are fighting.
Give it time. I'm pretty sure after a little bit of pit stop strategy, we could see these two back up towards the front of the field, battling for the race lead before this is said and done. We still have over 40 minutes left to go in this race, so anything is possible. But these two definitely have been putting on a great show all season long.
They have gone tooth and nail and wheel and fender across the board in PCA Sim Racing as we wait to see. Will Stiffel try and force the issue? No, not yet. Meanwhile, Cliff Kerr looks like he may well get ready to come in. Or not. Oh, Michael Wassel, though, locked it up in La Source and absolutely overshot the corner. So Kerr gets a bit of a break as Wassel will come down pit road and follow suit. And I think it's a lucky break for him that Kerr happens to be coming in this lap, because if he were staying out, Wassel would have lost maybe 4 or 5 seconds to that 008 and would have backed himself up a little bit closer to Sean Benet and Igor Soiker and Joseph Stiffel, all of whom are now coming down pit road. So we wait to see who's next. Colin Thomas is coming in. And Bruce Robinson.
The entire top 10.
Everybody. The entire top 10 all in for service on lap 9.
Now let's we take a look at the drone cam to see who will win the race off of pit road. We're waiting to see. We're still watching Cliff Kerr, Michael J. Wassel as they make their pit box. I believe a car just went ahead and left. Now let's see who those were. It looks like Randy Cannell and Alex Hellier. Those are towards the back of the field, so no issues there. As now, Cliff Kerr is first off of pit road. He will win that race. Let's see how far back Michael is. He's still on pit road right now, getting service to his race car. Sean Benet still waiting to be released as well. But here comes Igor Soiker and Joseph Stiffel and Sean Benet. And Michael J. Wassel still stuck on pit road.
Still stuck on pit road. How far will Wassel fall, as Joseph Stiffel will be the one that leads the group off of pit road and assumes the net P2 spot ahead of Igor Soiker and Sean Benet. And then Michael Wassel finally gets out just ahead of Gregory Sampson. Good battle here also forming between Bruce Robinson and Trey Drawhorn, who just jumps ahead of this group.
Great battling all around the track with these 3 drivers right now. Let's see if they're able to do right now as they come up through Lacombe's, and seeing as Igor Soiker is not too far behind along with Sean Benet. I think the biggest loser out of all of them is Michael J. Wassel, who has to battle Gregory Sampson and Trey Drawhorn.
So Wassel was second coming into this round of pit stops. He leaves pit road in the 6th spot. Maybe even the 7th here when we see what Rich Raybach does. Raybach is one of the few drivers who's yet to pit. He currently runs in the 2nd position, but once he comes down pit road, obviously will lose that track position. So that would put Wassel in the net 6th position, just ahead of Sampson and Drawhorn. And then Robinson, Brian Swift, Colin Thomas all a little bit further back.
Looking to see other major battles. The only ones that I see that's pretty close is, of course, the battle between Stiffel and Soiker and Benet. And then also Sampson and Trey Drawhorn are having a good battle right now for that 8th position, trying to keep up with Michael J. Wassel.
Sampson and Drawhorn in a good fight. Bruce Robinson not terribly far back of this group. And then Colin Thomas just trying to find his way to get to the rear bumper of Brian Swift in the 718, who currently is working the lap traffic of Drew Kenny, who was one of the violators of that orange zone rule right at the beginning. Remember, we talked about him when he got down on the brakes in La Source and made contact with 2 other drivers, causing an incident within the first lap of the race. He received a 60-second penalty on pit road and slid way back. And Kenny now currently runs in the 44th spot and is just between this group here of Brian Swift and Colin Thomas. Thomas and Swift racing for a position at this time.
Let's see what he's able to do. He's having to go a little bit around lap traffic as well as they're battling as they come out of La Source. Colin Thomas gets a great run out of La Source to try to see if he can gain ground on Brian Swift, as now Rich Braybach has come down pit road, being the last out of the top 10 to come into pit road. So now it is updated just a little bit, as Cliff Care, Jeff C, I have to say, is the biggest winner off these pit road strategies, as he was now sitting in his second position. Stifel, though, still holds on to third, while Benet is not too far behind in fourth.
We start looking at the good battles. Stifel and Benet within a second one another and trying to find lap traffic as they come through Bruxelles. And Stifel trying to hold on, might have to fight off the 911 of Benet, and then is able to get Benet to fall in line as they all just try and clear the lap traffic, as does Igor Soiker a little bit further back down the road. But Stifel in that P3 spot as it stands, making sure that he can begin to set his sights and begin his charge on that 3 of Jeff C, who's not terribly far up the road. It's only about a second and a half between the 3 and the 003 for P2 and P3.
Yeah, and actually looking at the lap times right now, Stifel running a little bit faster lap times than compared to Jeff C, so it could be only a matter of time before we see that 003 back on the back bumper of the number 3 car to get inside the top 2, and then he sets his sights once again on the 008 of Cliff Care.
As Cliff Care is still your leader here, drive around to the Carolinas region, clear by about 9 seconds, and then
quickly back to Joseph Stifel. He had a close call right there between him and Sean Benet in a lap traffic. They went 3 wide down the straightaway before they head to Blanchimont, so a great battle again. They're still side by side.
Still side by side, and it was oh so close between Benet and Stifel, and Benet nearly clipped the right front of Stifel's 911 RSR, but instead it's Benet who's able to clear Joseph Stifel, take over P3. Also, guess who? You wouldn't know that Michael Wassel had a terrible pit stop, because all of a sudden he's jumped ahead of Gregory Sampson and Trey Drawhorn and is beginning to stalk Igor Soiker for the 5th position coming through La Sauce.
Here they come into La Source, a great battle once again heating up, and now Michael J. Wassel has gained the ground, and I believe Stifel's coming back down pit road.
Stifel is coming down back pit road. Issue on the 003 that will see him fall from the top 5 and out of contention for a podium tonight, most likely. So Igor Soiker is the man who jumps up to 4th. Wassel now in the 5th spot. Sampson is 6th. And then Trey Jawhorn working the lap traffic of Javier Trevino over and trying to get away from Bruce Robinson, who currently holds the 8th position.
Still a good battle between those two. Let's keep an eye on them, see what they're able to do. Bruce Robinson now getting by the lap traffic now as he works his way through Lacombe to catch back up to the 395 of Trey Drawhorn.
Still all about Cliff Care, though. But Soiker and Wassel clearly the best battle up in the top 5, so we'll slide our attention to the 22 and the 7. Wassel had that terrible pit stop. He was about maybe, you call it 4 or 5 seconds slower than everybody else on pit road, and has had to charge back up to the field to gain on the positions. But as it stands, Wassel currently in 5th, looking for 4th.
Ooh, trouble for Brian Swift, and it looks like a couple of other cars.
Issue with the 718 machine. That looks like it might be coming out of No Name, and looks like he might have just caught the lap traffic of Drew Kenny, who caught the curb and had nowhere to go. That did Brian Swift. Kenny was just right there in the racing line on corner exit, and wasn't really much, I think, that he could have done to get out of the way, as Benet is now run off of Soiker, and Soiker and Wassel is still the battle to pay attention to.
Unfortunate indeed for those drivers.
So we'll keep an eye on Soiker and Wassel. It's the best battle within the top 10. The next closest battle is between Andrew Elsom and Cameron Leslie for 11th and 12th. We'll keep an eye on that one as well. But this is all about Wassel's charge to try and get back up to the front, and nearly ends up in trouble as Ryan McGee stopped right in front of Wassel as he was trying to come through the chicane and cost him a significant amount of time. So we'll see if McGee gets cleared, maybe in Eau Rouge or Redial, maybe on the line to Lecombe. We'll see. But as it stands, Soiker is the man in P4, and Wassel is now back by about 2 seconds, and he's closer to Gregory Sampson than he is to Igor Soiker at this point.
He is indeed, so it's only going to be see what he can do to make his way back up through the field as we keep an eye on these drivers as they work their way up through Eau Rouge and the Redillon down the Camel Straight. This could be a great opportunity for them to try to work their way up utilizing the slipstream.
Well, Gregory Sampson try and pull any sort of moves on Michael Walsall. He is now within a few car lengths of that number 7 machine, but nothing yet between those two. We'll see if Walsall is the pace to get away from Sampson at this point, or if he may have burned some of the good off of his tires on this first few laps out of pit road as they return back to Bruxelles and come through that corner, and No Name working their way towards that double apex Pouhon corner number 12 at Spa-Francorchamps.
As they're working their way up through, Gregory Sampson lost a little bit of time as they come out of No Name. So let's see if he's able to recover as they come up to Pouhon. But still, a great charging battle for these two drivers now as Walsall is working his way back up to catch up through the lap traffic, and Igor Sojka not too far up the road now.
Might be time to turn our attention back to Cameron Leslie and Andrew Elsom, because those two now represent the tightest battle on the racetrack alongside Walsall and Sampson. And Elsom, yet another one of the Peach State contingent of the PCA. Leslie, on the other hand, also of the Peach State contingent of the PCA. So it is Peach State on Peach State right here. Two Georgians fighting for that first spot outside of the top 10.
They are indeed, as they come up through. I lost my train of thought. As they're now working their way through and coming out of the final couple of corners before they head towards Blanchimont. It's a great battle indeed between these two drivers as they work their way through, but it's still quite a little bit of a gap separating between Elsom and Leslie as they are now coming up to Blanchimont.
A little bit of a gap, and yet the tightest gap between any battle on track for position within the entire field. So very good stuff from the 00 and the 981 as they approach lap traffic. They nearly get into Javier Trevino. It was very close, very tight, but looks like Elsom is going to have to go to the outside through the chicane. That might cost him a little bit of time as Leslie got the clean jump on Trevino through the chicane before they came down the F1 front straight and up to La Source.
Great battle as they now head up into La Source, hard into the braking zone. A couple of cars locking up. That was Cameron Leslie who locked up his brakes a little bit. Now loses a little time over Andrew Elsom, but still is able to hold the position in that 11th position as they work their way up at Rouge.
They come up through the hill, up through Eau Rouge and ready on. Then Leslie is able to stretch it out just a bit. Aaron Nash has got a pretty good run on Andrew Elsom. All of a sudden, and Nash is now the one who may be challenging and charging once they enter turn 7 to make their way up towards Lecombe. We'll see if Nash decides to force the issue, but he thinks better of it and gets on the brakes and lets Elsom run a little bit deep into turn 7 and 8 before he gets back on the gas. And then Nash was right there. Can he make any sort of move coming through Bruxelles?
He's going to take a peek to the inside through Bruxelles, but isn't going to make it work. Now Elsom locks up the brakes a little bit. This could be the opportunity for Nash. He takes a peek to the inside. Now he's going to be the outside as they go through No Name. Gives the position. May try the crossover. Couldn't make it work that time. Give the position back over to Andrew Elsom.
Thought he might have the opportunity to maybe make it happen some way, somehow, coming out of No Name. And if he had set it up and crossed him over right, he would have had a shot to make the pass up and coming to Pouhon. But as it stands, he's going to have to regroup and go after it once they get towards the Campus Stavolo complex, which he may well just. He looks to the inside again of Andrew Elsom, but still, the 981 slams the door on the 31 machine.
Coming up to Stavolo, here he comes. Aaron takes a look to the inside, now backs off through the outside. There's Elsom with the brake lock once again. Here comes Nash with a big run now as they come out and head towards the back straightaway, but loses a ton of time as now Elsom gains the ground.
It was a terrible exit of turn 16 for Aaron Nash, and that will save Elsom as they roll through the curb, Paul Frere and Blanchimont before they make it to the chicane that ends the lap. But can Aaron Nash draw a little bit more even coming up to the chicane? You can already see he's gaining speed down the straightaway, but as they work their way through the chicane, Elsom locks up the brakes just a little bit, and I have a hunch that Nash is going to get a big run on the front stretch and is going to gain on Elsom a bit coming towards La Source.
He is going to get a big run down the front straightaway heading towards La Source. He looks to the inside. Will he try to outbrake him into La Source? The answer will be no, but Elsom locks up the brakes once again. Here comes Nash with a big run down out of La Source, down the front straightaway to head towards start-finish line, but not close enough to gain any ground or make a pass yet as they head up to Eau Rouge.
Working their way through Eau Rouge and Réunion and Nash. Also worth noting here that while Elsom is from the Peach State region, Nash hails from the Florida Citrus region of the PCA, which includes, amongst other places, the city of Orlando. So we've got citruses and peaches fighting here, and we may have a food fight entering the comb here in a few moments, Taylor Burris.
We probably will have a fight here pretty soon as they work their way up through Lecombs. There comes Nash now. He's taking a peek. Let's see what he's able to do. Not able. Now look to the inside as they head through Bruxelles. Will he be able to make the pass? Nash to the inside. Will complete the pass. Move him up to P12.
And there goes Aaron Nash to P11 now, ahead of Andrew Elsom. And as he completes the pass, we'll take a moment to bring you tonight's first midway race rank of the evening, which is brought to you by Virtual Racing School. Virtual Racing School is the official setup provider for PCA Sim Racing and is home to a variety of tools to help you become faster. Learn from the best sim racers in the world, including four-time eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series World Champion Rayon Falla, three-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Grunke, the first ever iRacing Rallycross champion Mitchell de Jong, and other top sim racers. Cliff Kayer is your leader, having completed 13 laps, almost 14 here as he finishes up lap 14. Jeff C. currently runs in second. Third is Sean Benet. Michael Wassel runs in fourth. Fifth is Gregory Sampson. Igor Soiker is sixth. Trey Drawhorn runs in seventh. Eighth is Colin Thomas. Christian Rava is ninth. And 10th is Cameron Leslie.
As we look at the 11th position, Andrew Elsom is sitting in the 11th position, followed by Aaron Nash in 12th, Brian Swift in 13th, with Bruce Robinson in the 14th position, Joseph Stiffel back in 15th, with Paul Sulk in 16th, Randall Ayers in 17th, James Sue in 18th, Francois Grayling 19th, and Brandon Jaudet round out your top 20.
21st is Scott Nell, and Mike Nyden is 22nd. Rich Raybach is 23rd, and James Bernard runs in 24th. 25th is Ed Nelson. Stephen Bukowski runs in 26th. Jody Podpur runs in 27th. James Legault will run in 28th. Jonathan Patterson currently is the last car on the lead lap in 29th. And the first car one lap down is Tim Lambie in 30th.
31st is Ronald Cahill, followed by Alex Hellier in 32nd. Rodney Campbell in 33rd, followed by Kirk Clifford in 34th. 35th is Javier Trevino in 35th, and 36th is Shahar Katz in 36th. 37th is Ryan McGee with Dwayne Ronan in 38th, 2 laps down. Lorraine Sarumi in 39th, and rounding out your top 30, Scott Bellis.
Drew Kenny runs in 41st, and Owen Pruden runs in 42nd. Nick Fisher currently holds 43rd. 44th is Lanre Sarumi. Henry Rogers runs in 45th. 46th is Donald Binkley. Chris Duffy, Faisal Yamin, Brian Himmelman, and John D'Angelo round out the top 50. And the final few drivers in tonight's race are Tyler Edwards, Patrick Gill, Gary Rice, Robert Connell, Lance Wilsey, Timothy Watson, and Lane McNeil. And that concludes tonight's first VRS Midway race break of the evening. And for more information on Virtual Racing School, you can visit www.virtualracingschool.com. We immediately turn our attention to Trey Drawhorn, who just made the move coming through that very tricky Campus Stavolo complex and got around Colin Thomas with ease. It's now on Christian Rava in the 88 to try and make the same pass on the 23 as they begin to work their way through 16, the Code Paul-Frere, Blanchimont, and their way back to the chicane.
Great battling indeed for these drivers, and I think we just see Michael J. Wassel pull it behind the wall. His night is done.
Wassel may well indeed have pulled it behind the wall, and he is done out of it and has pulled it back behind the fence. So Wassel done, and that moves Benet up into a podium spot ahead of Igor Soiker in fourth.
Let's see what he's able to do. Igor Soiker now can see if can he find any which way to catch up to the top 3 right now. He's got about 4-second gap over Sean Benet, if I look at it, everything on the time and scoring correctly, and then still over 11 seconds to catch up to the leader. But one driver who's caught up to the leader is the number 3 of Jeff C. So we have ourselves possibly a battle for the lead here soon.
It's one of the tightest battles on track. You still have that group of Trey Drawhorn, Colin Thomas, and Christian Rava, but now Jeff C's cut it down to 0.6 of a second on Cliff Kayer. And we very well need to start paying attention to this battle for the race lead, because C may well have the opportunity to get after that 008 on the back half of this lap.
It's going to be a great battle between these 2 drivers now as they come up through Bruxelles and head over to No Name. He has gained quite a bit of ground and was almost half a second faster last time around.
He was almost a full second and a half faster is the answer last time around. So I wonder if he might have benefited from getting caught in lap traffic or something. But all of a sudden, that 3 machine chopped it down to 0.6 of a second. Also a good battle of about the same distance between Igor Soiker and Gregory Sampson. But we'll keep our eye on KRNC for the moment because KR has been largely unchallenged at the front of this field until now. And all of a sudden, Jeff C looks like he might have something for this 008.
He's going to try everything that he has now as they come out of Blanchimont down the back straightaway. They will go, or actually not Blanchimont, out of heading down the back straightaway as they're working their way through. It is still C, though, about 9/10 of a second back from Cliff Kayer.
C is just a little bit further back because of the straightaway, but it's going to be all about the entry into the chicane at Spa. What will C do? How will KR handle it? Pretty clean entries for both. Big move, though, and big breaking down for Jeff C, who ate up just about the entirety of the gap on the run-up into the chicane. Really, really nice corner entry for C. He chopped off a solid 3/10 entering that corner alone, and then it's going to have to go to the outside of the lap traffic, but watch that 3 car. He is coming quickly.
He is coming like a madman up to the 008 of Cliff Kayer as they now come down the front straightaway once again, heading up El Rouge. And let's see, as we look at timing and score, he was about 1/10 faster than Cliff Kayer as they came up through El Rouge and the de Leon down the Camel Straight. This could be the opportunity that C needs to get up to the back bumper of the 008 of Cliff Kayer's. Down the Camel Straight they will go.
Not too much lap traffic ahead of this crew, so they've got a little bit of room to fight with one another. But as it stands, another big dive for Jeff C, who I think almost got a little bit too hot into the corner, but still, he's gaining on KR with every braking zone that this group enters. And if that holds true through Bruxelles, which may be the most complicated of all the braking zones on this circuit, just because you're rolling downhill and trying to brake. It's very easy to lock out the brakes on your machine, but as it stands, Steve's still carrying a decent amount of momentum.
He certainly is, and lost a ton of ground right now through No Name. So this could be the opportunity that Cliff Kayer needs as they go through Pouon to gain a little bit of ground and gain that momentum in order to pull away once again from Jeff C.
Meanwhile, a little bit further back, Colin Thomas, Christian Rava in a good battle. You've got the lap machine of Drew Kenny in between them, but Thomas, one of the drivers from the Allegheny region of the PCA, that's Pittsburgh, and then Christian Rava from a very, very sunny region of the PCA. How about the Suncoast region of Florida, which is where you'll find Tampa Bay and St. Petersburg amongst the municipalities. So Pittsburgh versus Tampa here, which almost sounds like more of a hockey matchup in these times, Taylor Burish, but in either case, a good battle going on for that 7th position.
A great battle going on for that 7th position as they're working their way through the field right now, working through lap traffic, trying to manage the course. I mean, it's only going to be a matter of time to see what they can do, but Christian Riviera definitely putting the pressure on Colin Thomas, though. They just have to get by that lap traffic now as they head down the back straightaway towards Blanchimont.
They just have to try and clear the lap traffic. Next up on the road for Colin Thomas will be Trey Drawhorn. No lap traffic in between those two cars, just 3 seconds of track. And then you slide a little bit further back and you've got this great battle between Rama and Cameron Leslie and Aaron Nash also in there. And what a debut race for Nash.
Ooh. Big issue in the bus stop. I don't know who that was.
That was Cameron Leslie in the 00 machine who just locked it up and cleaned up Andrew Kenny with him and just did not have any brakes whatsoever. It almost looks like the brakes busted on the 00. Either that or he locked him up and knew he wasn't going to make it and just missed clearing out Christian Rava, but instead took out all his frustrations on the lap car, I suppose. And Leslie with a big dive into the serve, or into the chicane, rather.
That car is definitely tore up. Let's see what he's able to do. Is he going to come down pit road as it comes out of La Source? And the answer so far is going to be no. No, he's going to stay out on the race.
Tough one for Cameron Leslie, who was running well and is now currently in third spot. Meanwhile, Christian Rava and Aaron Nash having a good battle. Oh, Aaron Nash out of the back of Christian Rava and sent Christian Rava going into Lacombe. So Nash, I have a feeling, is going to end up having to give up that spot. And Nash, I think, immediately knows that he's on the brakes to let Rava come back past, but just didn't get on the brakes in time and got into the rear of Rava and sent him around.
He is indeed, and still waiting to sit down, and it looks like he's losing a ton of time as well, as he now is still waiting to go back out to race continually, but still now finally decides to get going as he works his way out of Bruxelles.
Also, note race controls black flag Cameron Leslie for his contact with you treading as Nash goes around out of no name and backs up the rear end of his Porsche 911 against the tire barrier coming out of that corner and on their way towards Pujol. But all of a sudden, race going pretty well, going very poorly over the last minute and a half or so for Aaron Nash. So commentator's curse, I suppose, Taylor Burris. I feel like that might be the only way to explain it.
That's the only thing I can think of, as well, as we're still waiting to see who else can survive this circuit. So far, it's been pretty clean for the first few. Now, all of a sudden, a lot of drivers are making these big mistakes here.
A lot of big mistakes across the board. Rava now is being chased by Brian Swift in the 718 now that he's back going once again. And Swift, with a decent amount of momentum, working their way towards Blanchimont and the chicane. And now Rava's going to have to make the rear end of his 911 pretty wide on corner entry here as he gets on the brakes and gets down to the hairpin.
He's going to try everything that he can and to now hold off Brian Swift in that 718 as they head into the bus stop chicane. Once again, a little brake locked up right there for him, but is still able to continue on. But here comes Brian Swift with a full head of steam out of the bus stop, down the front straightaway and into towards La Source.
So it is Rava who will maintain the spot over Brian Swift. That's the best battle until you get to Rich Raybach and James Bernard in 21st and 22nd on the racetrack. We've seen Cliff Carrier opening up over Jeff C just a little bit, so we'll keep our eyes on Rava and Swift. The gap between the leaders is now 1.8 seconds, so Cliff Carrier with a solid amount of long run speed, and Rava is just trying to hold off Brian Swift, and Swift's going to get the advantage of the draft of the downforce reduction that he will carry into Lacombe, and maybe, just maybe try and make the move on Rava for P9.
He's going to try as they now head through Lacombe once again. Can he hold him off? The answer still right now for Rava is yes, but Swift is all over the back bumper of Rava.
All over the back bumper of Rava as they continue to shuffle around and see what happens. But Rava in a very good place. Brian Swift, though, trying to make it a very difficult place.
He is making it very difficult for Christian Rava as they come up through no name, but still holding strong. That 88 Porsche 911 is holding off the 718 as they head to Pouan.
And as Brian Swift is able to clear Christian Rava in Pouan, we're going to take a look at the line timing map and just show you where everybody is on the racetrack. You'll see all these little dots running across Spa. That's where all the different cars are on the racetrack, and we'll see where on earth all the drivers are in the field.
A lot of different, you can see it all over. You see a Porsche everywhere on this circuit, just about.
Well, I would think that in a race full of Porsches that you would see nothing but Porsches, because Porsches are Porsches all the way Porsche, right?
Of course.
So a bit of an interesting view just to show you how the spread of cars takes place here. The orange dot, if you haven't figured out, is the battle that we're currently watching at the moment on track. But as you spread yourself out in here, you just see the spread of cars across the racetrack. And even though you've got 50 cars here, if there's a place where you want to have 50 cars within a race, this is a pretty good one to have it, because you've got room everywhere, because the track is just so big.
It is very big. One of the biggest circuits in the world, over 4.3 miles long. I mean, it used to be even longer than this at one point in the early history of Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps.
Used to be much longer. Much longer was Spa. I have a feeling, I think the answer was somewhere in the ballpark of about 8 or 9 different, I think.
Let's leave that to the audience. Let's see if they can find out how big the original Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps was.
That would be a good question. I sort of wish we had a grill badge ready to go, because that would be a very good trivia question. But the original circuit, yeah, that's long. That's long, shall we say. Very long. I won't actually say the number, but if you know it, you can certainly punch it in chat, because Cliff Carrier is still ahead of Jeff C. He's knocked it down to about a second and a tenth or so, which makes it now the best battle amongst our top 15, top 20. And it's James Bernard and Ed Nelson who are the next good battle on track. Everybody else a little bit more spread out as Rava continues to lose ground to Brian Swift in the 718.
Unfortunate for Raba, as he was having a great run, but just losing too much ground. Could be a little bit of the tire wear factor that he's having to deal with, but it also could be just running out and overcooking those brakes a little bit with the strategy. Those tires cannot really stand a lot of that hard braking for that long period of time, so they have to be careful and manage the tires.
And be very careful and manage the tires. Carrier's done a nice job of that. It seems like, I wonder if he's making mistakes, but he has the outright pace advantage on Jeff C, and is just being smart about this. As he nearly made contact with Ed Nelson coming out of La Source. It was very close for a moment between our race leader and Nelson, who's a little bit further back now as Jeff C just clears him in that number 5 car.
He's doing a great job as they come up through Rouge and Radillion down the Kemmel Straight. He's gained quite a bit of ground on Cliff Kayers coming up Rouge and Radillion. Let's see if he's able to make it to work as they head towards the Kemmel Straight and down towards Les Combes. And looking at that number 3 Porsche, he is definitely gaining a lot of ground, and that lap traffic is kind of being a little bit of an advantage for him.
Can't necessarily tell whether or not it's K or C that's faster at this particular moment. There is lap traffic ahead, though. James Bernard in the 20th position is the next one on the list. He was in a decent battle with Rich Raybach and Ed Nelson, but Nelson has separated himself, and they've strung themselves out a little bit more, so it's just all about whether or not K and C can clear this 58 car quickly or not.
It's going to be a matter of time to see what he can do as they come through Pouhon now, and it is still about half a second separating the two drivers now as they work their way up through the Campus and Stavalos section of the course now. And still the lap traffic is still in the way of Cliff Kayers. Now here comes Jeff C as they come by some cars that spun off the course, and now Kayers look to the outside as they come through Stavalo, but can't quite get around the lap traffic just yet.
Gonna have to figure out how to get around James Bernard as there goes C to the outside. He tried to find a way around that 008. They're gonna get the draft coming up towards Blanchimont, and maybe, just maybe, this is the opportunity that Jeff C has been waiting the entire race for, to try and wrest away the lead from that 008 of Cliff Kayers, who has led the entire race up to this point.
He has indeed, but could it be lap traffic that costs him the victory here at Circuit des Spa-Francorchamps? Here comes Jeff C, a little contact right there as they come through the bus stop. That gives the needed boost for Cliff Kayers to get by the lap traffic and hold on to the race lead.
It was a very convenient shunt from Jeff C into the rear end of Cliff Kayers, because it got Cliff right past the lap traffic of James Bernard. So now there's a little bit more room between Kayers and C. It's up to about a second when it was just a little bit under 2/10. But we found them entering the chicane just a little bit ago on this lap.
As they now work their way up through Rouge and Radillion once again, they are back at it, and you see Kayers has pulled that gap out extraordinarily to a very good lead now as they head down the Kemmel Straight, but yet once again more lap traffic in the way for the race leaders.
More lap traffic in the way of the race leaders, and Swift and Raba have come back together again, and Raba's managed to clear Swift, but he's only ahead by about 0.6, so could have another good battle there.
Could indeed have another great battle between these drivers now.
As we wait to see whether or not it develops and whether or not it ends up working and whether or not we end up with a battle for the race lead or not. That's been the question. K and C has sort of yo-yoed back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth.
They have indeed, but it's going to be Cliff Kayers holding strong, though, as being the dominant car since the drop of the green flag. But Jeff C has showed a lot of pace, a lot of speed here tonight at Circuit des Spa-Francorchamps, as we're still keeping an eye on that battle for 9th place between Raba and Brian Swift.
Good battle between Raba and Brian Swift there. Good battle. Just really tight stuff. And then Joseph Stiffels also all of a sudden clawed his way up into this. So now it's a 3-car battle for that 9th position on the racetrack. And Andrew Elson would be the next man up the road if these drivers can keep it together and jump up some maybe 7.5 seconds up the road. But it's Raba, Swift, Stiffel, 9th, 10th, 11th. And Stiffel and Swift might be the immediate battle.
Yeah, right now these two are going to be closing in now as Joseph Stiffel, who has been quite surprised to see what has happened to him. He's been a little bit struggling towards the second half of this race as we saw him inside the top 5 for the first half, but now is trying to claw his way to get back into the top 10 now as he's all over the back bumper of the 718 of Brian Swift into Blanchimont, or into... Lost my train of thought.
I lost the train of thought. Where we are right now is the Code Frere, and now they work their way towards Blanchimont and then up towards the final chicane. So Rava there, Swift and Stiffel next in line. Here comes Stiffel with the momentum, with the cleaner race car, looking for room around the 718 as the rear end of Swift's 911 RSR steps out just a little bit. What will Stiffel do on corner entry? Get right up to the rear of that 718 machine and then come no further.
Look at that gaggle of race cars through the bus stop, and everyone makes it through cleanly. What a pass indeed for Christian Rava to get around Andrew Elsa, move him up to P8 as they head into La Source.
And Andrew Elsa now in the thick of this. He's going to end up going way wide. And there go Brian Swift and Joseph Stiffel underneath him. And then Elsa gets into the lap traffic of Jody Ponpura coming out of the corner. And I just don't think those two saw each other on corner exit. But in either case, it is Swift and Stiffel and Rava. And Rava all of a sudden has breathing room of about 3 seconds or so ahead of Stiffel, to the point where the best battle within the top 10 is now Igor Soiker and Trey Drawhorn for 5th and 6th.
Keep a look on that battle as Swicker is holding strong over Drawhorn now as they come to Bruxelles and head towards No Name. A little bit of lap traffic in front of them, but they are still managing to get around as best they can. You see Swicker look to the outside as they go through No Name. Here comes Drawhorn with a head of steam, though. They're going to almost take it 3 wide, though, before they get to Pouon.
It was Steven Bukowski who was the lap traffic of the way, and now here comes Drawhorn to the inside. Oh, and Drawhorn caught the curb and got loose. He got loose all by himself, just caught the inside curb right there, Pouhon, and had to step out of line and go off to the runoff to save himself, and did manage to get the car going back in one piece, but not before he surrenders 5th to Igor Soiker and 6th to Colin Thomas.
So drop him back, but he is back on the attack once again to Colin Thomas as they come out through the Stavalo section of the course now. It's still going to be nose to tail between the two drivers.
Still incredibly tight. So it's now Thomas and Drawhorn. That's the best battle on this racetrack. This is 6th and 7th at this point. Beyond that, Mike Nyden and Randall Ayers with a pretty good battle. Ayers was behind Nyden, but came out of pit road. Ayers just completed his second stop of the evening. Nyden currently running in the 16th spot. And beyond that, it's Trey Drawhorn and then Brian Swift and Joseph Stiffel. So Thomas and Drawhorn for 6th, Stiffel and Swift for 9th. Those are the 2 battles to watch at this time.
Still watching that battle between... Still watching that battle, though, between Thomas and Trey Drawhorn as it's now starting to separate just a little bit after Drawhorn's mistake, but he is still on the attack right now. As we got Scott word, Edward Nelson has been black flagged for an unsafe re-entry to the race course.
You know, Taylor, I think it's
what are you thinking?
Like an old friend, because we haven't paid a visit to our friend in a little bit, and even though I don't necessarily know if he's a foresty person, surely there's a lake or something that he can get down with and hang out around here, right?
Of course. Let's call our friend.
If you would be so kind to call him up and do us the honor.
Of course. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to cue the Chuck.
As we bring back Chuck the Chuck and tonight's trivia question, a friendly reminder of the rules before we play. First and foremost, you get 1 response per question and no more. Any responses actually first will be deleted from chats, and anyone associated with Podium Esports is unable to participate and ineligible to participate in tonight's trivia question. So think before you speak. You get the one answer, perhaps get the one answer, but and we will bring the answer to you here in the second race of the evening. But just how long actually and specifically was the original layout at Spa? It was very, very long, but we need the specific number down to the decibels. So make sure that you hand us the very particular numbers, and who knows, we'll give you a shout out on the broadcast here, maybe get a little bit more. We'll find out whether or not you play it right, you're smart about it, or whether or not we need to send you back and have us see a little bit more of your work, as It is all about Thomas and Drawhorn once again as they are now working through Blanchimont and up towards the chicane.
Still a great battle between these drivers now as they're working their way up through the final sections of the course, heading up towards bus stop chicane, as we're seeing a couple cars working their way through, as well as lap traffic once again could be a factor as they're coming up to Cameron Leslie right now. As you see, Drawhorn, he gets right up on the back bumper of Colin Thomas, and still is able to hold on for Thomas to hold on to that 6th position as they come across towards La Source.
Trey Drawhorn, I think, may have the biggest fan section of any driver within PCA. I'm fairly convinced of that at this point. He's got some of the most vocal fans out of the Chicago region. He's got some of the most vocal fans in the chat here on YouTube. So Thomas, all in good shape, at least for the moment, but I don't feel like you're ever properly safe when you got Trey Drawhorn right on your tail.
No, not indeed. Drawhorn is one of those fast drivers that we have in this class of field here at Circuit des Spa-Francorchamps in the PCA Rookie and Sportsman division. So let's see what he is able to do here as he works his way down the Kemmel Straight and heading into Lacombe.
I like Jim Hemming's answer in chat. It was a long track. Yes, it was a long track as Thomas continues to be pressured by Trey Drawhorn, and Drawhorn flashes the lights coming into Bruxelles, and all of a sudden he's right on the rear bumper once again. Can he get the good run through to No Name and then maybe get a decent run up towards Pouhon? Not quite. Got a decent run through the corner though. He'll be right on the rear bumper of Thomas once again, and then it's going to be all about how he nails the apex and sets himself up for the Campus Stavolo complex. Big questions here for Trey Drawhorn to ask of Colin Thomas. That's the final spot in the top 5 that he's working for as well.
He is going to try to head into the Campus and Stavolo section of the course. He gets laid into the brake zone in order to try to get to the back bumper of Colin Thomas. Can't quite make it work. Now he really puts the pressure on as they head to Stavolo.
Also watching the clock here. Here comes Drawhorn, who had to look to the inside at Savalon. Now it's going to come past the Paul Frere and up towards Blanchimont. Maybe, just maybe, we'll have an opportunity at the chicane. Also going to be very, very close to see if Cliff Kerr is going to get another lap in. He won't. This may well be the last lap. He just crossed the start-finish line with under 2 minutes left on the clock. So this could be it for Cliff Kerr. We might be on the last lap of the race. Then it's going to be all about how everybody else handles this next lap or change.
Jeff C is about 1.4 seconds back from Cliff Kerr, so this is go time for the number 3. Can he have anything in response to the 008 of Cliff Kerr as he works their way through Lacombe for the possible final time here tonight?
We shall see how it shakes out. Also note that Kirk Clifford in 25th overall also happens to be the leader in the rookie class. He's out of the Rocky Mountain region, which covers Denver, Fort Collins, Cheyenne, and parts of western Nebraska, one of the more jigsaw regions of the PCA in terms of geographic shape. But at Clifford en route for a class win there if he can hang on. But it's all about whether or not Colin Thomas can hold off Trey Drawhorn as Cliff Kerr works his way down Pouhon for the final time.
He is definitely putting on a great performance here tonight. Cliff Kerr, as he's coming out of Pouhon for the final time, heading to the campus, and now looks like he's slowing up a little bit. Here comes Jeff C with a head of steam.
Jeff C already there. How close could this be? We may have a battle for the win on the final lap. Is Kerr running out of fuel or tires or both? Has he not managed it well enough? Is she going to put the pressure on him right at the end? We're going to find out a lot here on the run up to Blanchimont. It's a very high-speed run up through that section of the racetrack. So if he's out of fuel, we'll know it almost immediately.
He is trying to hold on as best that he can as they make the run to Blanchimont for the final time here at Circuit des Spa-Francorchamps. Again, anything. Hold on for Cliff Kerr. Jeff C. all trying to do anything he can to get into the bus stop chicane for the final time. One last attempt to see if he can get the race lead away from Kerrs into the bus stop for the final time. He is right there.
Right there. He'll have one shot coming into La Source, one shot in the hairpin to try and make this pass and take away the victory from Kerr. After Kerr is led from flag to flag, we'll see diving into the corner. He looks to the inside, but it won't be enough. It was a good enough exit for Cliff Kerr, and he will hold off Jeff C. or not, maybe not. It's going to be a drag race down to the line or not. Are they parading? I can't tell what was going on there, but it will be Kerr in the end who gets the victory in tonight's sportsman and rookie class race for PCA Sim Racing and the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. And now all about the battle between Colin Thomas and Trey Jawhorn as Jawhorn has cleared Thomas, and now Thomas might be a little bit slow, and Jawhorn has gapped the 23 as they come towards La Source.
He has gapped him quite a bit indeed as they head to La Source for the final time into the braking zone. Here comes Colin Thomas with the head of steam. One last attempt. Couldn't make it work, though, but is still able to hold on to his Porsche, but will only get sixth position. A little further back, another close battle to be watching is the battle for Christian Rava and Joseph Stiffel. Those two going at it for 7th and 8th as they come across the line. Stiffel, I think, will hold off Christian Rava for the 7th position.
Stiffel will hold off, and that's about it as far as close battles go across the racetrack. Waiting on Rich Raybach and company to finish up their laps. I think they might be some of the last chronologically to finish this race, given that they just came across the start finish line. But we'll turn our attention now to Kurt Clifford in the 888. He now is working his way up towards the chicane, and when he crosses the start finish line, he will claim the victory in the rookie class tonight. And will pick up, I believe, his first rookie class victory in Series 4 PCA Sim Racing. Clifford with a few corners left and locks it up on the exit of the chicane, but no matter, he'll carry on through towards La Sauce and then make his way through that hairpin back towards the front straightaway in the start finish line and pick up the class win.
Great effort for these drivers here tonight at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, and it's amazing to see these drivers working their way through the field, and as well as just a great job for most of the field. I mean, a great, incredible talent.
Great talent, impressive talent, and Kurt Clifford comes across the line, and he does indeed win this PCA Sim Racing event in the rookie class at Spa as everybody begins to shut it down and finish off their laps. Everybody pulling out of the way. Mike Knighton come across the start finish line. Randall Ayers is there. Waiting on Rich Raybach, James Bernard, and James Legault, I think, are the final three that need to finish off tonight's race. In the meantime, though, we'll go through the final results and tell you where your favorite driver finished. It was Cliff Kayer who got the victory over Jeff C. and Sean Benet, who round out the podium of the sportsman class. Igor Soiker was in the 4th spot. 5th was Trey Jawhorn. Colin Thomas finished in the 6th position. 7th was Joseph Stiffel in the 003. Christian Rava in the 88 was 8th. 9th was Brian Swift, and Gregory Sampson rounded out the top 10.
Bruce Robinson comes home in 11th, followed by Andrew Elsom in 12th, with James Sue in 13th. Paul Solk will come home in the 14th position, with Francois Grayling in 15th. 16th goes to Michael Knighton and Randall Ayers, your last car on the lead lap, in 17th. Rich Raybach will come home in 18th, one lap down, with James Bernard 19th, and rounding out your top 20 is James Leglot.
Cameron Leslie finished in 21st. 22nd was Stephen Bukowski. Jody Podpruitt finished in 23rd. And 24th was Kurt Clifford, who won the rookie class. Shahar Katz finished in the 25th spot. 25th was Javier Trevino. Rodney Campbell finished in 27th. Brandon Jadot was 28th. 29th was Tim Lambie. And Alex Hellier finished in 30th.
31st goes to Ryan McGee, followed by Edward Nelson in 32nd. Jonathan Patterson comes home in 33rd, with 34th going to Brady McMacken. Owen Prudhomme will come home in 35th, with Chris Duffy in 36th. 37th goes to Aaron Nash, with Faisal Yaman in 38th. 39th goes to Henry Rogers, and Ronald Cahill rounds out your top 40.
41st was Michael Wassel. Scott Nell was 42nd. 43rd was Drew Kenny. Lonray Cerumbi was 44th. 45th, Nick Fisher. Dwayne Cronin, 46th. 47th, Scott Bellis. Donald Binkley, 48th. 49th, Brian Hillman. And Tyler Edwards, 50th. Final cars on track for John DeAngelo and Patrick Gill and Gary Rice, and then Robert Connell, Matthew Mitchell, Lance Wilsey, Timothy Watson, and Lane McNeil, rounding out the finishing orders. We now bring in from one Carolinas region of the PCA member to another. Cliff Kayer gets the victory at Spa this evening. And Cliff, it was interesting, I thought, to see your battle with Jeff, just because it seemed like it stretched out, and then Jeff was able to come back a little bit, and then you stretched out the lead again, and then he'd reel you back in a little bit, and it got very close at the end. Was that just mistakes on your end or his end, or changes in pace and the way you were running your race and changes in strategy? What sort of created the yo-yo effect between you two?
Thanks. What the yo-yo effect, it really came from the traffic predominantly and just trying to get through it as safely as possible through the bulk of the race. And then I'd like to say that Jeff is a great competitor. He's a teammate as well. We are on a team called LTFB. I won't explain what that means. It's a little rude, but big shout out to the team. It's a great driver. It's fun. As well as Sean. That was awesome.
Yeah, it looks like you were having fun out there pacing the field in that 008 to pick up a victory here at Spa. It's such a different road course, I think, amongst so many of those, not only in the sim, but in the world, just because of the distance and because of the length of some of these corners. Do you have to treat it differently compared to a lot of the other road courses that you go to?
I think you have to have a little bit more endurance on it in terms of, and then the undulations and the off-camber turns kind of throws a little bit of a wrench into the mix, but overall just a whole lot of laps and that's the way we can go through it. And Jeff and I actually ran a endurance race on iRacing here, and where we only had, I think it was 44 or 46 incidents that we could have over 24 hours. And we made that race and finished 6th overall. So we know the track really well.
So you have a little bit of practice here.
Yeah.
Leads to perfection tonight and gets you all top 2 spots in this race. Who do you need to thank for making tonight's run possible?
Well, I'd like to thank my teammates at LTFB, Cameron and Kenny, who's racing the other race, and Jeff, and for some great on the track battles, as well as when we really push ourselves in practice. And appreciate Sean being up there and running with us. It was a great time.
Well, Cliff, congratulations on bringing the victory back home to the Carolinas region of the PCA. Thanks for speaking to us this evening, and we look forward to seeing you next week when we traverse our way towards Road Atlanta.
Thank you, sir.
Cliff K, P1 tonight. P2 was his
deal.
LTFB, Jeff C, who is with Taylor Burris.
Here with Jeff C. coming home in P2 tonight at Circuit des Spa-Francorchamps. And Jeff, you were definitely one of the faster cars out there tonight. Tell us about your race and how the track conditions were for you.
I was good. It was good fun, too. I was just actually in the other channel talking to Sean Bennett. Him and I had a little bit of a frustrating Wednesday for the Prelude race, but we kind of came back and had a real competitive race this time. The track conditions were good. It felt like the setup is a little looser in the rear end than I prefer, but overall, definitely a great drive.
What makes Spa so difficult?
Well, the high speed, long straights coming down into some of the corners are tricky. You're approaching at much higher speeds than usual. The corkscrew, Blanchimont, and then of course Eau Rouge following another car under a different aerodynamic is difficult.
Well, with that, before we let you go, tell us who helps you race from week to week and any shout-outs you would like to give.
Team LTFB, we do a lot of endurance races together, Daytona 24 and Spa 24, as well as Peach State PCA. Been racing with those guys for a long time, and big congrats to Cliff for the win and Sean in third.
Well, that is Jeff C. coming home in P2 for the sportsman class in the PCA, and we're going to now give over to James, who's with Sean Benet.
Sean Benet, who brought his 911 home in the third spot. And Sean, you had a tremendous amount of really good battles with a lot of drivers in the top 5. Igor, Trey, Colin, Joseph, I think Christian at some point was around you. And how fun was it to just mix it up for the full hour? Because it seemed like you were always near a really, really good, high-quality battle.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It was just amazing fighting against those guys. They're really great class acts out on the track. Lap traffic had something to do with it, with like the added challenge, but I feel that I ended up prospering through. And they were just great. The people I was fighting against, Igor, Michael, and the rest of them, I mean, they were just amazing out on track. Yeah, I did kind of mess up my fuel a bit. I kind of went 4 laps over target, basically. So that was on me. I probably would have been a bit closer to the front of the pack, I feel. But then again, it is what it is.
In either case, you still come away with the podium finish and get to bring it back to your friends in the Lincoln Trail region, which you call home for those unassociated. That's most of central Illinois. That's Springfield and Urbana-Champaign complex. Those who are familiar with the University of Illinois, not terribly far away. So I know there are a lot of friends, a lot of family, and a lot of other region members who are probably watching and cheering you on tonight. How cool is it to bring home this podium for all of them?
Yeah, it's really great for bringing it home for all of them. I'm really glad they get to watch, and hello to them who are watching. I'm really thankful for them. I mean, best fans. I want to thank Perel for keeping my hands clean during the COVID-19 case going on out there, and let's pray for all those people. And basically, I was originally in rookie, I thought, but then again, I mean, P3 and sportsman? Yeah, P3 and sportsman, that's pretty great.
And who else do you need to thank tonight for making your run possible?
Family and friends definitely have a lot to, I have to thank them a lot. They're really helping me out doing this. Halfway point in the season, I'm pretty proud of what we have accomplished, and for them getting me here. It's just amazing being with you guys, and you guys setting all this up, and everyone else being a class act on track. It's just amazing to race with these guys, and I'm really glad I get this opportunity.
Well, Sean, congratulations on your podium finish. Thank you so much for talking to us, and we look forward to seeing you next week when we head to Road Atlanta.
Thank you. Wait, I thought that was 7th race.
Nah, it's next up.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. See you guys then.
Sean Benet comes home in P3, and at this point, we're going to take a quick commercial break and get everything set up for our second race of the evening. The top dogs in PCA Sim Racing, the club and the pro drivers will take to Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps on the other side of the ring. But don't go anywhere. You're watching coverage of PCA Sim Racing from Podium Esports on the iRacing Esports Network.
Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR PCASRS iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Coming up to the line, being chased, and it was Braden Johnson. Unbelievable finish. It was 1/1000th of a second between them.
Green flag in the air. We are racing in the 2020 24 Hours of Daytona.
They go door to door for the feature race lead here on the last lap of the race. Side by side for the race lead in the final corner at Homestead.
Down the back straightaway, 3 wide again for the race lead. This is unbelievable stuff here tonight.
Loma is going to have to be very deep on the brakes, and he is very deep on the brakes. It's side by side through the corner. This is for the win.
It Davies side by side. Davies low, Ottinger high. To the very inside is Garrett Lowe. 4 wide at the stripe.
For all his work here on this outside line, neck and neck. Who's going to back out? Does anyone back out?
Verstappen starts to squeeze on the inside, and now he'll try and straight line it. Goes under the apron, drag race to the line. It's so close to call.
Welcome back to coverage of PCA Sim Racing, provided by Podium Esports here on the iRacing Esports Network, where we are in warm-ups for and qualification for our second race of the evening, the adventures of the PCA Club and Pro classes at Circuit of Spa-Francorchamps will be up in just a few moments, but at this point, time to bring in Kirk Clifford, our rookie class winner, who will speak with Taylor Burris in just a little bit. Taylor, plenty of impressive stuff from that first group, and have to believe that a pretty strong run for Kirk Clifford definitely is going to get a little bit of recognition here as well.
Of course, and then it's only going to be a matter of if what we saw in race 1 was full of excitement, race 2 is going to be only even more better, I think. I mean, just so many different drivers coming in here that we know have a shot to take it to the top of the leaderboard and win this race. Of course, Michael Polasek, who is on a 3-race win streak right now, and then let's see who else is in the field right now. Vaughn Glaze, who had a spectacular run last week at VIR, but unfortunately couldn't finish the race due to some other situations that happened during the race. One driver, though, who I don't see in tonight right now, there's Jason Lisner. He just hasn't got in a qualifying time yet, but he's towards the back of the field right now. We'll have to see what he can do, as we're about approaching 50 cars starting tonight's race.
50 cars in this race as well. As we'll give a nod to Kirk Clifford. Technical difficulties are going to keep us from speaking from Cliff this evening, but quality run for Kirk to come away with the rookie class victory. And yeah, I think the other point that I was about to mention right before we went back on air, if you needed a good French lesson, this is about it. There are plenty of corners here that will give you trouble, and plenty of corners that you'll have to learn to pronounce. But we can hold off on that for a moment and speak to Ryan McGee, who finishes P2 in the rookie class, and he is with Taylor Burris.
Here with Ryan McGee coming home P2 in the rookie class here tonight at PCA's Class 1. And Ryan, tell us about the track. How was it out there racing?
Oh, it's a great track. I had a lot of fun. For me, being in the rookie class with a bunch of the sportsman guys, it's just a effort in letting people pass you and safely and staying on the track. But had a good time.
Well, tell us about what you're looking forward to the rest of the season as we continue with the season with only 4 races left to go.
Definitely Road America. I'm a big RA fan. I'm looking forward to having some fun.
We look forward to seeing you at the next round. Before we let you go, though, who would you like to thank? Who helps you race from week to week?
I'd like to thank my girlfriend Lara and the whole Nordstern region. The Porsche Club of America, they got me into this, and they're a great group of people.
All right, and that was Ryan McGee coming home P2 in the rookie class.
So Ryan McGee finishes in P2, and now I do want to sort of go back to that French list, just because you got some wild names. And if you're not well acquainted with French, this place will get you caught up in a hurry. You've got the famous corner, the signature corner here that you carry so much speed through, or 2 signature corners, Eau Rouge and Rédillon, officially are the pronunciations for both of those. And they actually stem from the original configuration of this circuit, where it actually ran off into the forest just a little bit to the left-hand side of those 2 corners, and subsequently was sort of chopped down and cut down a little bit in the years that followed. But it actually was a much harder left-hander that pulled off into sort of 180-degree roundabout corner, sort of like what you see now with Pujol.
Exactly, and it just shows the difficulty of this course and the history of this course. I mean, those 2 corners, Rouge and Rédillon, I mean, those 2 have been there since the inception of this course. So, I mean, it's a phenomenal circuit. The history here, I mean, I've always looked forward to coming racing at this track.
Although it still will trip anybody up. It's difficult ones to pronounce, I would say, because I've seen Daffodil, Ray Dylan, Ray Dilly Dally. None of those
That's
are
a new one.
Yeah, all new. But the correct pronunciation officially is Rédillon. The L's actually end up being silent, would you believe? So it takes a little bit of French knowledge to get. The Camel Straight also pretty more straightforward, much more Flemish, Dutch in that sense, before you hit Le Combe, which is actually plural, but you end up with the silent S's because it's French. And then Bruxelles, which functions much like the X in Chamonix, host of the Winter Olympics way back in the day. Then Pujol, Campus, Stavelot, the Cobe Palfrère, Blanchimont, Chicane, pretty easy one, and then La Source. So all sorts of French pronunciations all over the place. Yeah, and credit to Dookie in chat who does give us the phonetic spelling: Ray like a ray of sun, D, and then on. So if y'all ever wanted French lessons, just tune into PCA Sim Racing every time we come visit Spa. It's a first for us racing in Europe, but in either case, go on board with the 47 machine, and we'll tell you what these classes are and what you should expect out of these. Jonathan Waltman is the one riding on board with. But we've reached the second half of tonight's program, so we're going to race with the best of the best. Everybody who's anywhere from 1301 to 1999 in iRating jumps into the club class of PCA. Anybody who is 2000 and above races in the pro class, the top class of PCA Sim Racing, the best of the best, and where you're going to see a lot of the drivers at the front of this field run a little bit later when they take the green flag in maybe 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see what they can do here tonight for another hour-long race here at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. I mean, let's see what happens. A lot can change here in 1 hour. We saw that the last race, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see that again here tonight.
I also do believe that we may have an appearance from a certain very important person to Alberto Fonseca in chat. Alberto, one of the drivers hailing from the Pacific Northwest region of the PCA. One of those who is way, way up there in the Seattle, Tacoma, Olympia area. So everybody, I think, just trying to stay at home and weather out the situation and get some sim racing laps in at one of the world's most famous road courses, one of the great courses in all the world, one of the classic courses.
Of course. I mean, this is a classic course.
What is your favorite part about Spa? Actually, I don't know if I've ever asked you that one.
To be quite honest, going up to Rouge and Rédillon is by far one of the most iconic courses, a part of the course that I love going up. I mean, you have to make sure you hit the right throttle in order to go up through that section of the course perfectly to get that run that you need down the Camel Straight. I think that is the most exciting and yet challenging part of the circuit.
It's a cheat answer, but honestly, I'm kind of with you on that. Although I have to give a big nod to the run through Pujol and the run down through Campos and Stavlo as well. But as it stands, we'll take you through the starting grid, tell you where all of your favorite drivers will begin this evening. Michael Podolsek starts in first with a qualifying time of 2 minutes and 13.699 seconds over Jeff Lewis. Jason Lisden will start from the third spot. Fourth will be John Malia, and James Shute rolls off from fifth. Ron Glace will start from the sixth spot. Sabal Banyopadjai with one of the fastest qualifying times he's third in any PCA race rolls off from seventh. Matthew Kikis starts from eighth. Ninth will be James Patak, and Greg Carr rolls off from the 10th position.
Lee Peterson will come home, start in the 11th position with Christopher Pies in 12th with Dewey Kang in 13th. Mark Youth will start in the 14th position with Arthur Chan in 15th. 16th goes to Chris Walsh, Kenny Brown in 17th, Todd Panic in 18th, and Jonathan Schum 19th. Rounding out your top 20, Doug Metzel.
Mario Gonzalez starts in 21st, and William Anderson starts in 22nd. 23rd will be Jordan Dyer, and Antonio McCartney starts in 24th. 25th will be Charlie Al. Joshua Vieira begins in 26th. 27th will be Brett Holmes. Liam Redzita starts 28th. 29th will be Michael McCoy, and Jacob Sheldon starts from 30th.
Starting in 31st will be Jeremy Mazariello, followed by Ryan Heindrich in 32nd. Michelle Levesque will be starting in 33rd with Grant Talkie in 34th. James Craig in 35th with Robert Coy in 36th. Michael Evans in 37th. Matthew Mitchell will start in 38th with Jonathan Waltman in 39th and Alberto Fonseca in 40th.
Carlos Lopez starts in 41st. 42nd will be Jake Steinbring. Mark Harris begins in 43rd, and 44th will be Robert Connell. Peter Youngson will start in 45th. R.E. Moore Jr. begins in 46th this evening. Chip Starkey starts in 47th. Frank Santori begins in 48th. 49th will be Brian Mousing, and then it will be Matthew Siddall, Christian Rava, Aaron Rash, and Lanre Sarumi at the very back of this grid as we get set for another night of racing and a second race to round out the evening at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. It's a classic pit layout, so the start line and pit road are on the back stretch compared to what you normally see with Formula One. It's still a 4.35 mile, 7 kilometer flat course with 20 turns racing in the morning. It is now 8:30 in the morning in Sim Chime, and the temps have picked up a little bit. 66 degrees in the air, 68 degrees Fahrenheit as these drivers begin to work their way through the chicane and towards La Source, and then we'll get their race underway for an hour of action with the PCA Pro and Club classes at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps.
It's going to be exciting. Can we see Michael Polasek go 4 in a row? Can anyone beat him? Jason Lisner, he's on a bit of redemption after missing so many great opportunities to take home the checkered flag. Will he come on attack, or will someone else take home the checkered flag here tonight?
All questions to be answered as the Lone Wolf Motorsports machine will come up to the front and bring us to the green, and we'll see what happens in this second race, but it's all about Michael Podolsek and who can catch the 45 machine as we wait for the green flag to come out, and it will be all Michael Podolsek. Oh, Michael Podolsek as he jumps off for green flag racing at Spa, and he jumps ahead of Jeff Lewis. Jason Leisner in the third spot. Malia already in fourth. Ruth and Glace all in good shape. They all come through Eau Rouge and Verillon cleanly for the first time as they begin to sort themselves out towards Lacombe, and it looks like Matthew Kikis and James Patak are the ones you need to watch. Patak holding off a massive pile of cars from about 9th or 10th on back.
I don't know. That battle for second, though, going on through Lacombs right now is a great battle. Lewis was able to hold off Jason Lisner now to maintain that second position, but Michael Polasek, he's checked out on the competition right now as they head towards Bruxelles.
Bruxelles is where they head to next, and Lisner stalking Jeff Lewis in that 927, but everybody all in tow trying to follow Michael Polishek, who has already opened up a second on Lewis, who sits in the second spot.
He's doing a great job, Lewis is. We saw him last round at VR doing an incredible job, along with with Von Glace as well in the 41. Both of those ran inside the top 5 for a majority of the race until running into issues later on as the race went on. But still, watching that battle for P2, Lewis still holding off Jason Lisner as they work their way up into the Blanchimont or the Stavelo section of the course and into turn 16.
All about Pommelsick, though, still Lewis is there, Lisner, Malia, Glace, Youth, Kiki, Espanol, Panjai, all in tow, all in a group here, all pretty much within about a car length or two of one another. They space themselves out as they work their way through Blanchimont for the first time towards the chicane, but now here comes Jeff Lewis. He's going to have to hang on over Lisner, who darts to the outside and tries to make the pass happen at the chicane, and then thinks better of it, gets on the brakes, and will maybe short himself up for a run at La Sauce.
He's going to try everything that he can, though, as they come out of the bus stop chicane, heading down towards La Source, but Lisner just cannot seem to get to the inside or outside. They're now heading the braking zone of La Source and now heading into there. You see Lisner backs off just a little bit, though, but unlike that, John Malia all over the back bumper of Jason Lisner as they come out of La Source down the front straightaway.
All over and all over the place is that group of the first, we'll call it maybe 7 cars is in good shape, though. Battle here, first real proper battle, is Chris Pies and Greg Carr in 10th and 11th. Pies has the 10th spot. Carr wants the 10th position, might have the run heading towards Lacombe.
Great battle indeed between those two drivers. 28 of Greg Carr is holding strong as they work their way down the Kemmel Straight heading into Lacombe. Can he hold off and get into that 9th position over Christopher Pies? The answer will be no, not this time. Not too far though. Kenny Brown, Dewey Kang, Mark Hugh having a great battle for that 11th and 12th position though as they come out of Lacombe.
Chris Pies, one of the Lone Star region drivers of the PCA, which covers Houston, H-Town, and goes a little bit up north into East Texas College Station. So fans of the Texas Aggies will appreciate the driver, the number 9, Greg Carr, is from the Central New York region of the PCA, which runs right up through the heart of the state, touches such cities as Binghamton, Syracuse, and Oswego, New York. So sort of the heart of New York outside of the city. That's where you will find Greg Carr.
Greg Carr doing a great job right outside the top 10, holding strong after starting in 10th. So he's only dropped 1 position back over Christopher Pies, who's gained 2 spots since the drop of the green flag. So as we now work their way out of Stavelo, he's still putting the pressure on him as they're now working their way towards the back half of the straight track.
Beginning to start seeing where the battles are going to develop. You see Lisner and Malia in a pretty good fight for 3rd and 4th. Peterson trying to chase Benio Piaget for the 8th spot, and then everybody all just strung out a little bit of these first few laps. Is a big dive here. Here comes Von Glace to the outside of John Malia trying to take the 4th spot away.
Let's see what he can do. John Malia now, a lot of speed is shown out of John Malia here recently. He's been battling quite well. Actually finished 2nd last race at VIR after Jason Lisner made a mistake in the final lap at VIR last round. So he has been showing a lot of speed. Like to see what he can do at the remainder of the season.
Malia, part of the metropolitan New York region, which covers New York City and Long Island. So Malia, the pride of the Big Apple within PCA Sim Racing, and pushing hard now to try and go catch up with Jason Lisner, who has represented the First Settlers region of the PCA so well in this first year of PCA Sim Racing.
A great battle indeed, and a lot of different drivers have to work their way up through so far early on, and love to see what they can do as the season progresses. So have to keep an eye on them.
One of those that we'll have to keep our eye on is Jeff Lewis sits in the 2nd spot as it stands. Meanwhile, Malia and Glace with the first real battle for position in P4. Glace is there trying to push on and maybe, just maybe, get that nose alongside. Malia is 690.
He's doing everything that he can to try to get by, but it's going to be a tall order as Von Glace now. He's going to take a peek, but decides to back off just a little bit as they go through Pouhon. But still, that battle will rage on as they come out of Pouhon and head to the campus region.
Up the Campostavolo complex is the next one for these drivers to tackle. And Glace, I think, very clearly has the pace advantage over Malia. It's just about whether or not he'll get the room to get alongside the 690. That's the major question at this time. And at this point, nothing yet, and no mistakes from Malia to open the door for Glace. But that's not to say that if he looks up the rearview mirror, he might feel the pressure just a little bit.
He is definitely going to be feeling that pressure just a little bit more as they continue pressing through on the rest of the course, now heading to the back half, heading towards Blanchimont, and now also to the bus stop chicane.
They come through the bus stop chicane here for the third time, and it is still Malia ahead. Meanwhile, Jeff Lewis and Jason Lisner are nearly side by side there as they all come back together through the chicane, and then we'll spread out as they work their way down the Formula One front straight towards La Source, which is the final corner on our layout. We're using the back stretch here and not the front stretch of Spa, so it's the old pit road and the old start finish line that these drivers are using for timing and scoring.
Yeah, it's a very interesting course because you feel like when you're coming out of the bus stop chicane, you feel like you've reached the start finish line. Nope, you got to go through one more corner in order to get there. So it just shows the interesting and also an advantage it could be for those who are trying to gain positions towards the later in the run.
Still Lewis, then Lisner, then Malia, then Glaze, then Kikas, the Manupar, and then Leif Peterson has backed it up a little bit. There's a gap of about 2 seconds between Bagnapadilla and Peterson, and then Chris Pies is right there. So those are two Texans tangling with one another for the 9th and the 10th position. As Polasek is now ahead by 2.5 seconds over Lewis, and Lisner and company beginning to stalk the 927.
It's just a matter of time before we see Lisner try to find a way to get around the 927 of Jeff Lewis, but he's got a lot of pressure from Malia, Glace, Hugh, and then, of course, Matthew Kikas as well, not too far behind either. So we're talking about at least 4 or 5 cars just lined up nose to tail as they head to Pouhon.
Big move there from Lisner. He was looking towards Lewis's inside. It was very close between the 927 and the 92 through Pouhon that last time by. And now they'll work their way a little bit further down the track towards the Campostavolo complex. And it will still be Lewis for the moment. But for how much longer? Because you can see the speed advantage that Lisner and company have. Lewis is backing up this group as Polasek continues to scoot away off the front end.
It's only going to be a matter of time to see what he can accomplish now as they're heading towards the back half towards Blanchimont right now. But still a lot of battles going on between these 4 drivers right now. Nose to tail for the most part. Kikas has fallen off the pace a little bit to keep up with the rest of the top 5 as they now head through Blanchimont, then the bus stop chicane. But Lizard takes to go out to the outside of the track, and let's see if he tries to dive it in. No, but Malia, though, late into the braking zone to get to the bus stop chicane.
Very late to get into the chicane was Malia as he continues to force his way up through this field as best he can, but it's been stations held outside of Matthew Kikas clearing Shabal Ben-Yopanjai in the top 8 positions. Nobody moving spots just yet, but Lewis is backing everybody up. You can see it visibly now. Polasek's got the lead stretching out to 3 seconds over the runner-up at this time.
It's only going to be a matter of time before we see Polasek just continue to grow that race lead here before we see the first round of pit stops here at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Now they're heading down the back straightaway towards the Camel Straight. Lisner gets a great run to catch up to Lewis. Will he try to overtake before they get to Lacombe? He goes to the outside now. Side by side they will go. Who will be the first one to break first? The answer will be Lisner as he tries to see if he can do the crossover maneuver.
Thought about going to the outside at Lacombe and thought better of it, so he'll look again at Bruxelles and see, maybe, just maybe, if he can line it up and maybe get the run out of Pouhon or Campos or Stavolo, perhaps.
Could be a possibility. We'll have to wait and see what happens now as they come through, as they come up to No Name right now, but still, he's going to have to see if he can get a good run off of there in order, as Glace has an issue.
Glace got a little bit loose coming out of No Name, and I think might have caught the curve and did indeed. No, just locked it up on the brakes too early and just escaped. You see one car to the outside. James Hugh just got around him and barely escaped Ron Glace, but Glace is the first one to fall out of this group of the top 10 and is now just ahead of Greg Carr in 11th. So Glace falls from the 5th spot, starting 6th back to 10th.
See what he's able to do now if he can regain the ground lost here at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. He has dropped quite a ways back just outside the top 10, so he has a lot of work to do here today.
As Polasek continues to lead, Lewis and Leisner and Malia all in a train for spots. Then Ruth and Kikis, and then Cheval Banjo-Panjai. We wait to see what happens up in the chicane. Don't think we'll see anything too crazy from this 2-3-4 combo, but Banjo-Panjai, we haven't talked about him all that much, although you'll recognize the last name anyway. But Banjo-Panjai, one of the drivers out of the metropolitan New York region, along with John Malia. So that region having a pretty strong run collectively in the opening stint of this PCA Sim Racing event for the club and the pro drivers. Banjo-Panjai happens to be leading the club class as it stands after 5 laps, Taylor Burris.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Chabal can do as he is working his way, still running in that P8 position, but by far this has been his best run still than any other run that I've seen him do, so it's great to see him up towards the front of the field.
Tons of speed here, no question about it. Qualified really well, put himself in 7th, and currently is running in the 7th position as Leisner continues to knock on the rear bumper of Lewis and look for a room and look for a space to maybe make the move on him at Lecombe, but can't find it there. So once again off to Bruxelles they'll go.
As they're now working their way through the field right now, watching a couple of other battles, it is still, as we see Glace once again having some more issues as he's going side by side with Leif Peterson.
So Glace trying to hold off Leif Peterson. Greg Carr also there as that group heads through Bruxelles and will attempt to stay in one piece as they come through Norname and back towards Pouhon.
Great to see. It's great. Valieri's has a lot of work to do, but he could be able to work his way up through the field before it's all said and done. Looking through the field right now, the best battle still is that battle for second between Lewis, Leisner, and Malia as they're now going into the campus as well as the Stavilo section of the course as they're working their way through, hitting the marks. Leisner goes out a little bit wide to get to the next apex and gets a great run off of Stavilo.
Got a really good run coming through the final few sections down at the south end of the track. The Stavilo, the Cobra Frere combo up to Blossomo, and then chicane. The bus stop chicane, the edited bus stop chicane used to be a proper bus stop up there towards the start finish line that was reduced and switched into chicane right before the start finish line. And now here comes Lizard's best shot. He's going to look to the inside, thought about it, tries to set himself up. We'll see what he does. Coming into the chicane this time, he pulls right near the edge, switches up his line. He's going to see if he can get a good run out of the corner and get going. Spun the tires, I think, a little bit on quarter exits, so I don't think the opportunity to try and pass after Lewis will be there coming through La Source.
As they're working their way up to La Source, Lewis gets a little bit of loose through there. Can he hold on? Leisner, though, looks to the inside, but can't get to the inside to make the pass. We'll have to go to the outside as Lewis now comes down pit road.
So Lewis is going to get out of the way. He'll come down pit road for service. That means Jason Leisner will take over P2. Malia jumps to P3. James Youth up to P4. And then Kikas and Banjo-Panjai will go 5th and 6th. And now we get to start seeing some of the good battles on this racetrack. Chris Pies and Vaughn Glace up there, as are Leif Peterson and Greg Carr. We could have 2 battles coming through Lecombe next time around.
Let's see what they can do as they're working their way up through Lecombe. But I tell you what, Malia all over the back bumper of Leisner, putting the pressure on to take the fight to Leisner.
Well, Glaze is able to hang with Chris Pies, though, through Lecombe. Wasn't quite able to stay alongside him, but he may have the chance to dive underneath when they come to Bruxelles. We'll see if he dives to the inside, tries to make that pass out, but he's there to the inside, gets to the brakes early, so doesn't draw even with Pies, but maybe, just maybe, can do it again as Greg Carr locked up the brakes a little bit, and Glace trying to carry all that momentum. He got all kinds of the curve through No Name, trying to set himself up with the maximum amount of speed towards Pouhon. They'll remember a few laps ago, it was the same sort of entry that forced him to loop around and sent him back here in the first place.
Yeah, so it's going to be see what he can do. Can he be able to manage that? As we see him blocked in right there between Christopher Pies and Shabala Banjo-Panjai as they go through the campus and Stavilo section of the course, and still Glace is holding strong.
And so it's now Banjo-Panjai that's blocking this group, and this is 6th, 7th, and 8th overall. And then Banjo-Panjai, who's the leader of the club class as it stands, trying to hang on to his spot. Pines and Glace still beginning to get anxious behind the 770 as Greg Carr and Lee Peterson draw ever closer to the 9 of the 41.
See what they can do as they're closing up through the back half of the course towards the bus stop chicane. And we see Christopher Pies just look to the inside of Shabala. And will he make it work? No, decides to back out of it just a little bit. Von Glaze also following. Greg Carr looks on, and Leif Peterson. So we have about 5 Porsches right there battling it out for that 6th position.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all in view here, all with the opportunity to make a move if they so choose, but everybody minding their own business as they come through La Sauce and begin to charge down the hill. But Manuel Pagani will come down pit road, so he'll slide out of the way, as will Matthew Kikis and James Schuth. So a few more names sliding up the order. It's Chris Pies, who now jumps to 4th behind John Malia, then Vaughn Glaze and Greg Carr. Now it's Pies who will hunt the fight off Glaze, coming back to Lecombe once again.
It's going to be a tough one right now, as a lot of the front runners are starting to come down pit road, but let's see what they can do. But Glaze is still going to be on the outside. Will he be able to outbreak him? Christopher Pies still holds strong on the inside, but has now the outside run that gives the opportunity for Glaze to try to overtake, but it won't work this time through as they come out of Lecombes.
And Glaze finally gets the move on the edge of the Lacan and the run on the Bruxelles, and it will be on Glaze up into P4. Pies back to 5th. Greg Carr now running down that 9 machine, as is Leif Peterson in the 913.
It's going to be interesting to see what they can do here. And it's only going to be a matter of time for these drivers as they work their way through. But it's only also going to be seeing what will Polasek, what will Lisner do? Will they come down pit road this time around, since some of the other drivers have made their pit stops?
And what will Malia do to try and force the issue? What will Pies do to try and get back to Von Glaze? He's got a rearview mirror full of Greg Carr at this time. What will Leif Peterson do? What will James Patak do? Because he's beginning to inch closer to Todd Panic in the 77 machine.
It's going to be interesting to see what these drivers are going to do, but it's only also has to see what will happen once they come across the start-finish line here in a few moments. Will they come down pit road this time by... I got to say, though, some of these drivers who have already pitted, they could be in the catbird seat.
Could well be in the catbird seat, as Michael Polasek is out in front by 5 seconds over Lisner and Malia, who are nose to tail for that 2nd position. And then you've got Glaze has begun to drop everybody and is starting to run away from Chris Pies, who is now falling into the clutches of Carr and Peterson little by little, but more by more with each passing corner of each passing lap.
It's only going to be a matter of time to see what they can do as they head down into La Source. A lot of these drivers are going to come down pit road, and the answer will be yes. Everybody in the top 10 pretty much coming down pit road, so it's going to be a race to see who will come out on top.
No question. Everybody coming in for so. As we look at the drone cam, and Mark Huth will come down pit road. We'll see if Todd Panic and James Patak follow suit. They will indeed. Panic is in, Patak is in, William Anderson is in, Leah Radzitis is in, Charlie Yao is in, Brent Holmes is going to come down pit road. Joshua Vieira will slide down for service. Jacob Schum, everybody. There is not a soul that is going to stay out.
No, not indeed. Everybody coming down pit road. This is going to be exciting.
Really wild stuff here as we wait to see who will win the battle off of pit road and who will jump up in the standings. Jason Lisner was able to maintain his place over John Malia on pit exit. And Von Glaze jumps up ahead of just about everybody here. Jeff Lewis and James Schuth will jump ahead of these drivers and resume their places near the front of the field. They stopped about a lap ago and short pitted everybody here, so older tires for that group and a little bit more fuel taken on, a little bit less fuel in the end of the race, but they've got the track position, and it's a pretty good battle between Lewis and Hughes for 4th at the moment.
It is a pretty good battle between these two drivers. As we watch and see, we saw Jeff Lewis, though, was up towards 2nd, but with all of the pit stop strategy, it now allows James Hughes to get into the mix of this battle as they work their way through and head towards no name, but still Hughes all over the back bumper, and I think had a pretty decent run so far this season, finishing inside the top 10 a couple of times, and now working his way trying to get a top 5 finish before tonight's over with.
Pushing on towards the top 5 finishes, Hugh is trying to chase down Jeff Lewis as they come through Pujol. Also a little bit further back, Matthew Kikis, Vaughn Glaze, also in a pretty good battle of their own, as Kikis didn't get the greatest of exits, and Glaze will inch ever closer to that 15 Porsche 911 RSR.
He will indeed as they come to the campus and Stavilo section of the course now. He is putting the pressure onto the back bumper of that 927 Porsche as they head through Stavilo.
They continue to search for an answer in Campos and Stavolo, and nothing has come to them yet. Nothing crazy at this time. Meanwhile, still good battles for 4th, good battle for 6th, good battle for 10th between Greg Carr and Sebaldino Paggiai, Chris Walsh and Mark Hugh. Had a good battle of their own. Arthur Chanley and Rodzitis, Charlie Yao, Brett Holmes, Jacob Schoen, Kenny Brown, amongst others. A lot of battles within a second here at Spa in this PCA Club and Pro race.
Yeah, a lot of great battles and putting on a great show for us here tonight. As we are now, after tonight, this will be the halfway point. So only 4 races left to go in this season, and then we won't see these Porsches again till sometime in the fall. But not these Porsches, but the GT4s.
The Porsche 718 Cayman GT4 Club Sport MR, I think, is the official name.
Of course.
But in either case, that'll be interesting, and I think a very entertaining season we're going to have at that. It is the first GT4 car to make its way to iRacing in this current setup, and we'll run in the Michelin Pilot Challenge in the Sims Official Series. And I think it'll be a lot of fun for people to drive because it's probably the most approachable of all the Porsches. It's not nearly as high-tech as these 911 RSRs that you see here, but definitely more affordable, and I think a little bit more focused on the fun as opposed to the competitive nature of these 911 RSRs.
Of course, and also the GT4 Porsches as well, those Club Sports, you can see those more so as more of a street car compared to these Porsche 911 RSRs to a degree. Yes, the GT4s have a little bit of racing modifications, but they're a little bit more closer to what you would actually see out on the streets here today.
And definitely a lot more common in PCA events. And speaking of events, if you were so curious, a friendly reminder that the Porsche Club of America hosts over 3,500 events annually across the continent. Between the 10 national events and thousands of regional events, there's a PCA event for every Porsche enthusiast. PCA hosts autocross events, concours d'elegance, drivers' education classes, driving tours, social events, and tech sessions. And for more information, visit pca.org/events. Especially once we get back to normal living and the restrictions across the world, I suppose, are lifted, but as it stands, it's still Matthew Kikis in 6th, but Von Glace pressing the issue as they come up towards Blanchimont and the chicane.
He is putting a lot of pressure as they come up to Blanchimont Von Glace is doing a great job all over the back bumper of Matthew Kikis. Kikis having a bit of an up and down kind of season. We saw him up towards the front in several prior seasons, but here he is struggling as now Von Glace looks to the inside through the bus stop chicane, and not too far either is Christopher Pye. Could Glace lose his position as they come out of the bus stop? The answer will be no. He will hold on as they come down the front straightaway before they head to La Source.
At least for the moment, but here comes Chris Pines and Von Glace. Everybody looking for that magical run down the inside as Glace was a little bit tight on exit. Kikis was a little bit wide on exit, and in either case didn't really do much of them any good because Kikis was able to maintain the spot. So Kikis in 6 for the moment, but watch as they come up through Eau Rouge and Meridian. Pay attention to the kind of run Glace gets. He's been getting great runs up the hill towards Lecombe. I have a feeling he may be alongside. The 15 once again goes to the inside, and Kikis won't fight it. It'll be Glace who gets the spot when they get to turn 7.
He's going to do it as they now head towards the braking zone of Lecombes now. And now you give that position over to Von Glace in 6th position. Then drop back Kikis to 7th while he is under heavy fire from Christopher Pies.
Oh, nearly sent Chris Pines down onto the grass and over the curb out of turn. I believe that was 9 that they nearly sent Chris Pines off on, and they all survived through Bruxelles and will continue towards No Name and then Poulon. And then that run down to Campos and Stavolo that we've seen a lot of action out over the course of this race. In the meantime, though, Jeff Lewis, James Hugh, the best battle within the top 5, best battle in the top 10, Kikis and Pies, and we'll keep our eyes there. Same thing can be said for Greg Carr and Sebaldino Paggiai, Chris Walsh and Mark Hugh in a pretty good battle of their own. James Patackley and Rodzitis also there. Antonio McCartney and Charlie Yao. So just good tandems, I think, across the top, especially that run from about 7th or 8th down to 20th.
Yeah, great battle. As we go actually to Liam Rodzitis in that 05 Porsche. He's currently battling right now with Brett Holmes and James Patak as they're working their way through. Actually, Brett Holmes a little bit further back. So James Patak is his primary target as they come out of Stavelo and work their way through the rest of the circuit, as they're now seeing Rosita was a little bit slower by the looks of it that time around. Ran a 2:17.9 compared to James Patak 2:16.5. So Patak has been showing a lot of speed here in the late going of the race.
Now, Taylor, if I were to ask you where these two drivers are from, you didn't necessarily know, but you had to take a statistical guess, what two regions would come to your mind?
Well, if I didn't already know where they were already from, I would first say the Canada region.
Upper Canada, yeah.
Upper Canada.
And then what's the other one?
I would have to say not the Rensport, because that's where the Levesque family is, father and son duo. The Toronto, Ontario region?
Well, it's the same one as the Upper Canada, so you can't do that twice now. But there's another region that makes you Patak over in La Source, so it kills the point I was about to make.
It does a little bit.
Another one of the Peach Staters, and Liam Rositas is one of the Upper Canada region drivers, but lots of representation amongst those two, and Liam Rositas is able to take advantage of the mistake from James Patak, and he will jump into 16th, and subsequently in that battle, and it's now Brett Holmes that might be able to charge after Patak and take over 17th, giving up to Lecombe. But all about Chris Walsh and Mark Heath a little bit further up the road. These two are about to come to the Bruxelles, and maybe, just maybe, Walsh might be able to get the jump on Heath and get the spot. Heath with brother James, who currently runs in 5th, racing in PCA Sim Racing. Mark registered in the St. Louis region, James the Hudson Champlain region, and the, I suppose, torchbearer for PCA Sportsmanship way back at that first season when Billy Smith and Michael Polos got together at Watkins Glen, and James Hughes was in the lead for a moment and then decided to hand it back to those two who had been the fastest all day. Set a precedent, I think, for PCA that evening with his sportsmanship, and been something that we've seen PCA drivers been very good about ever since.
He is probably the pinnacle of sportsmanship driving. I mean, James Patak giving up the lead to let those two drivers continue on. Billy Smith along with Michael Polasek. I mean, just phenomenal sportsmanship. And we still see that to this very day. We see a lot of drivers giving and taking, not really pushing the envelope with their competitors until the very end. But still, even if there was contact made, they give way. They let these other drivers gain back their time or positions in order to keep the camaraderie as well as the sportsmanship of the PCA that we all know and love.
Michael Polasek is still your leader by 3.5 seconds over Jason Lisner. Jeff Lewis and James Youth still in a good battle, though. Lewis is just sort of hung out as Youth locks up the brakes and tries to set himself up for a good run up towards Eau Rouge and Rédillon. But still nothing yet. Lewis has been able to maintain his place ahead of Hugh throughout the duration of this pro and club race up to now. We'll see what kind of run they get out of the corner. And Hugh got a very good one up towards the top of the hill. He'll draw even with the 927. And will he be clear of Lewis to take over the racing line when they get to the corner? Survey says as they inch up towards the brakes, they're going to go side by side into it. And it's going to be James Youth, who I think is going to stick alongside the 927, and they'll still go side by side, and I think you finally might just have it done before they come to Bruxelles.
Great pass indeed from James Hughes. Will he hold on though through Bruxelles? And the answer will be yes, as now they make the run to No Name. Still going to be nose to tail though, as Lewis is not giving up just yet.
And all of a sudden now our attention turns to Chris Pies and Matthew Kikis, who have been nose to tail for the last few laps or so. They haven't necessarily managed to separate from one another. Lee Peterson is also in the mix here as well. And this trio comes through Pujol, racing for 7th, 8th, and 9th at the moment. This is Carolina region meets Leif Peterson's very venerable Maverick region. That Alice Fort Worth Metroplex is where you'll find Leif Peterson. And then you've got Craig Carr, who hails from the Central New York region, which stretches right out the middle of the state, that Binghamton, Syracuse, Oswego region we talked about a little bit earlier in tonight's broadcast.
Don't forget, Christopher Pies is the leader of this pack of cars right now as they work their way down out of the back straightaway here, heading towards Blanchimont. Leif Peterson gets a good run on Matthew Kikis, who will utilize the slipstream in order to try to overtake as they go through Blanchimont here coming up. And this corner right here is so concerning. You think you can take it flat out, but you got to let the throttle breathe a little bit in order to make it work. Otherwise, you go way too far out and get a cut course penalty.
One of those very particular things. It's a big dive for Matthew Kikish, but he can't quite hang on to it, can't quite stick it up to the pieces. And Chris
that was James Hughes back there that he just passed.
There's issues for Hughes here, who I think may have gone off on the scale. We'll take a look and see what happened. Yeah, he went off of the grass. So Hughes was way ahead of all of this and then ended up completely looping it around, and I think just got on the brakes a little bit too hard over in the chicane. So separate incident there for Hughes, who now slides back into the 11th position.
I want to bring out right quick a fan favorite in the PCA who decided to pull in the garage. Dewey Kang, unfortunately, will not be continuing. We've seen how well he is able to drive. He also already has a win in the club division a couple of weeks ago at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Had pretty good runs in the club division this year, but it's not quite there for him tonight as Jason Lisner was sliding through the corner and nearly had some trouble in Bruxelles. So just about had the 92 all over the place, but as it stands, still Pies and Kikas and Peterson, the best battle up at the front of the field.
And then also we have to keep an eye on that battle for fourth between Jeff Lewis and Vaughn Glaze as well. Glaze is closing in to the back bumper of Jeff Lewis a little bit by a little bit, so we'll have to keep an eye on that as well. But still, watching that battle between Christopher Pies, Matthew Kikis, Leif Peterson, as well as Greg Carr, who's not too far behind this battle as well. Have to see what they can do as Kikis is slowly but surely dropping back into the clutches of Leif Peterson.
Everybody just expanding and contracting as they come through Pool and back towards the Campus and Stavolo section of this course. The very, very south part of this track before they work through turn 16 and then the Beaufort and then Blanchimont and the chicane to round out the F1 lap. We also have La Sauce for us before we get the start finish over on the run up to Meridian and Eau Rouge.
You know, I know we're running in the morning time, but you know what, James? I would love to see these guys racing into the night with this track. I mean, it's phenomenal to run it at night. I mean, it's just you, the darkness, of course, the brake lights of your competitors in front of you, the headlights are blazing behind you. I mean, that's what makes sports car racing so amazing and unlike a lot of sports. Going out onto a track in the middle of the night in complete darkness, but just you and the cars around you sometimes is just phenomenal.
You see a lot more black in the evening and maybe a little bit more red too. And incidentally, those happen to be the colors of the proud partner of tonight's Midway Race Break, which is brought to you by Virtual Racing School. So we'll take a moment to bring you our second Midway Race Break of tonight's broadcast. VRS is the official setup provider of PCA Sim Racing and is home to a variety of tools to help you become faster. Learn from the best sim racers in the world, including four-time eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series champion Ray Alfala, three-time iRacing Grand Prix world champion Martin Krunke, the first-ever iRacing Rallycross world champion Mrs. Zhang, and many other top sim racers. Michael Polisek leads Jason Lisner by about 5 seconds as he works lap 15 at Second Belfagos. Lisner runs in P2. John Malia holds the third spot. Fourth belongs to Jeff Lewis at this time. Vaughn Glaze sits in the fifth position. Sixth is Christopher Pies, and it's Matthew Kikis and Leif Peterson in seventh and eighth. Ninth is the 28 of Greg Carr, and James Hughes runs in the 10th position.
Brother Mark Hughes is sitting in 11th position with Todd Panek in 12th. 13th goes to Chris Walsh with Shabala Banjopaje in 14th. 15th goes to Arthur Chan with Liam Rositas in 16th. James Patak sitting in the 17th position with Antonio McCartney in 18th. 19th goes to Charles Yao, and Brett Holmes rounds out your top 20.
Jacob Schum runs in 21st. 22nd is Kenny Brown. Joshua Vieira sits in 23rd, and 24th is James Craig. Jake Steinbrink runs in 25th. 26th is Mark Harris. Carlos Lopez is in 27th. 28th is William Anderson. Jordan Dyer sits in 29th. And 30th is Jonathan Shum.
31st is Jeremy Mazzariello, followed by Robert Cottle in 32nd. R.E. Moore Jr. in 33rd, with Alberto Fonseca in 34th, the last car on the lead lap. First car one lap down will be Peter Xerxes, followed by Mario Gonzalez in 36th. 37th, Robert Coy. 38th, Brian Mosing. Marco Harris in 39th, and Matthew Mitchell rounds out your top 40.
Frankston Toy runs 41st. Grant Talkie is 42nd. Matthew Siddall runs in 43rd. And Ryan Heidenreich runs in 44th. Trip Starkey is 45th. 46th is Dewey Kang. It's Mitchell McCoy, Michael Evans, Michelle Levesky, Jonathan Waltman that round out the top 50. Then Aaron Nash, Lon Racing, and Christian Raba. And that concludes tonight's VRS Midway Race Break. And for more information on Virtual Racing School, make sure you can visit them at virtualracingschool.com. And I know they've been very, very busy because and I saw that Ray Alfalo posted a list of his coaching sessions in advance of this weekend. And he's been a busy man, and I know coaching a certain favorite person of our producers is Jimmy Johnson gets prepared to race tomorrow afternoon, and the first of the big events coming up within the next week on iRacing, and it starts tomorrow from Watkins Glen International as the debut of the iRacing IndyCar Challenge arrives on the IndyCar YouTube and Facebook pages and the iRacing Twitch channel. It'll be tomorrow afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern. You can stream that online, and so many famous drivers defending NTT Data IndyCar Series champion Joseph Newgarden will be in the race, defending Indianapolis 500 champion Simon Pagenaud will take part. Sage Karam, Zach Veach were very quick in the practice race that was held earlier today. Dalton Kellett, Kyle Kaiser amongst some of the names that you'll see. So some of the best in IndyCar will take to Watkins Glen tomorrow afternoon, and then Sunday in the United States and in Canada as well. If you happen to have TSN, it'll be the second race for the eNASCAR Pro Invitational Series from Texas. That'll be this Sunday, March 29th at 1 p.m. Eastern on most Fox affiliates, and also available nationwide in the United States on Fox Sports 1 and the Fox Sports app. Then more action for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series on Tuesday night. They head to Thunder Valley, Bristol Motor Speedway, March 31st, a 9 p.m. start for that on the iRacing Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube channels. Then we get back at it next Wednesday night with our traditional doubleheader, the Esports Racing League Premier Series, Anthony Alfredo's League out of the Xfinity Series from Texas on the ERL Twitch channel at 7:40 p.m. Eastern, and then at twitch.tv/Podium Esports, it's the Cars Esports Tour, round 3 for them from Five Flags Speedway at 9 p.m. Eastern. And for more information on all those events, head over to iRacing's website and the Podium Esports website at www.podiumesports.com for more information.
Well, I gotta say one thing about Jimmy Johnson with his running the IndyCar race. This is the first time, I think, in a very long time we see him pull double duty in racing series.
Now, maybe I'm just a little bit biased, and maybe a few other people on tonight's broadcast are a little bit biased, but I'd say the paint scheme that he's running tomorrow isn't too shabby.
No, I would not agree with you. I would agree with you 100%. It is not too shabby at all.
And for those who haven't had the chance to see, I know Allies Racing Team posted it on Twitter, on social media, but it pulls a lot from his throwback car that he ran at Darlington last year, which itself was a tribute to Jimmy's off-road days when he ran pro truck racing back in the 90s before he was 7-time NASCAR Cup Series champion Jimmy Johnson. So a lot of lightning bolts and purple and white you're going to see on Jimmy's car when he gets racing Watkins Glen tomorrow.
By far one of my all-time favorite paint schemes that he has driven in recent time as we continue to watch what's going on.
And you can take a look and see what Jimmy's car will look like on your screen as everybody sees Michael Polosek just run off the front of this field. Best battle is still Kikas and Pies for 5th and 6th. And then we slide a little bit further back. Kenny Brown and Brett Holmes also in a pretty good tangle. Haven't had the chance to talk too much about them, but they're on a good one, as are Antonio McCartney and Charlie Yao. And one car sideways coming out of the no-name, and it was Brett Holmes himself. So Holmes loses the spot. We'll have to get it looped back around. James Craig just goes around the 22 machine, and Holmes will drop a few spots. And we'll take a look and see what happens as Holmes lost it coming through turn 11.
Unfortunate for Brett Holmes, who had a strong run running inside the top 20, but has a little bit of work to do now as he is now dropping back through the field. But Brett Holmes and that 06 Porsche continues to push forward.
They all continue to push forward. They all watch and see who's going to get the jump on Matthew Kikish, and will the issue get pressed amongst Chris Pies, lead producer Greg Carr. This has been the best battle of the past maybe 10 to 15 minutes. They've all been nose to tail right in front of one another. As issues there for Vaughn Glacier, the 41 machine, who's backed himself up into this mess, and he just, I think, overshot the corner, got on the brakes a little bit too early, and did lock up the rears and nearly got into one car, but now has made it a 3-car train coming up the hill through Eau Rouge and Radio.
It's going to be quite the battle that we'll have to see here as they work their way up. It's only going to be a matter of time to see who will be the first one to overtake the position now as they work their way.
Vaughn Von Gleis, Matthew Kikas. Oh, big dive. There we go. There goes Lee Peterson to the inside. He looked and tried to make a move on Matthew Kikas and then thought better of it, realizing that they'd be going 3 wide into Lecombe. And usually that doesn't work out all that well. So we'll try and isolate Severin and go after the Brunel.
It's going to be interesting to see what they see as Christopher Pies now tries to get to the inside, works her way up through the field, catching up to Von Gleis, but can't quite make it work this time around. Kikas watches on along with Leif Peterson, Greg Carr, up through No Name, 5-6 cars under a blanket right now as they make the run to Pouon.
They turn towards Pouon, and Pies is opening up a bit. He's actually got some breathing room over Kikas and Peterson and Carr. And now James Huth all of a sudden is in this mix. So 5th to 10th, all pretty much nose to tail. And we'll keep our eye on Kikas at the moment. He's got some work to do to catch up to Pies, but Lee Peterson has been right there for about the last 10 laps or so.
I just love watching Leif Peterson race. Yes, he hasn't had a win yet so far this season, but he has had some great finishes overall in his time with the PCA. I've seen how well he's able to negotiate. Even in multi-class racing, this guy knows how to drive a Porsche.
Everybody knowing how to get around this Circuit des Spa-Francorchamps as we approach the final 20 minutes of tonight's race. And Podolsek has been unquestionably the best at the front of the field, but now Chris Pies putting the pressure on Von Gleis. She's got some damage to that number 41 machine. Pies looks to the inside at the chicane. Kikas is able to come right up towards the rear. All about the runs that you get out of the chicane coming towards La Source before they come down that big long front straightaway for us with the classic pit layout and a run down into Eau Rouge and Radial once again.
Here they go down into La Source once again. Now it is still going to be all of them lined up nose to tail, but still Von Gleis holding strong over at the 4th position now as they come across the start-finish line.
All about Gleis trying to hold on. He's got the most damage out of anybody in this group, but also I think has shown the most speed out of anybody in this group. So that if there's anyone that can sort of mitigate the damage, I think it would be that 41.
We'll have to see what he can do now as they go down the Kemmel Straight. Here comes Christopher Pies. He takes a look to the outside now as they head towards Lecombe. Who will be the first one to break? But I think Christopher Pies will do. Now here comes Von Gleis back on the attack. Look at how much loose he gets right there. He's able to hold on to that race car as they come out through Lecombe.
Gleis gave him the outside and then shut the door on him in Lecombe, and now there comes who says maybe, just maybe, there might be big room there from Lee Peterson to try to get the inside of Pies, but Gleis beginning to escape. But he's got to be careful coming out of No Name. That's been the trickiest corner for Gleis across this entire race. It's the only one where he looped himself around very early on in the going, along with La Source. So those 2 spots, I think if you're Gleis, you got to watch just how much you ride on the edge and see if you can maximize your speed through those corners and not go over the limit.
Don't want to push it too hard. Wants to try to bring it home in one piece and get home a good finish. Von Gleis didn't even finish the last race at VRR, even after running inside the top 5 for the duration of the race he was on. So he's trying to show redemption here at Circuit des Spa-Francorchamps.
So all about Gleis parading this group around. They're all within less than a second of one another, all the way back to the 9th spot. It's only once you get to Matthew Kikas that you start seeing gas develop. And then Antonio McCartney and Charlie Yao in a good battle of their own. Jacob Schum and Josh Vieira also within a second as we see McCartney and Yao go after it. Maybe slide a little bit further back just to take a look at what happens there, just because we haven't had the chance to talk about McCartney and Yao all that much. But 2 drivers who have a decent amount of experience. Charlie Yao from Mission, Texas, out of the coastal Bend region of the PCA. If you head all the way down towards Corpus Christi and Laredo and head way down south in Texas, you'll find Charlie Yao there. And then if you want to figure out where McCartney is, just head to the First Settlers region. He and Jason Lewis are part of that group that runs the stretch from Virginia Beach all the way up towards the state capital of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Richmond, and well represented, I think, is the First Settlers region in PCA Sim Racing, especially for being one of the undersized regions by comparison to a lot of the other PCA regions that are competing tonight.
Of course, but yet they have a lot of talent in that region, along with the Carolinas, and then, of course, the Peach State region as well. So some very heavy hitters in every single region that we have just about in the PCA Sim Racing Series.
Also of note, Chris Pius has cleared Vaughn Glaze for the 4th spot, so it's now on Leif Peterson to see what he can do as McCartney starts to gap Charlie Yao just a little bit. He was actually slower than Yao that last lap, but it's been close enough that you might not have to worry about him too much. And then Kenny Brown also in the mix here, maybe working around Charlie Yao in short order. Brown, another one of the Peach Staters out of that ubiquitous region in PCA Sim Racing.
Tell you one driver who has been struggling right now is Matthew Kikas. He has fallen all the way back to 9th position right now. Kind of were able to stop the bleeding right there as he holds about a 6-second lead over Mark Huth, but he just got passed by James Huth, Greg Carr, Leif Peterson after running just outside the top 5.
The way he did it, he slowed up coming down the Kemmel Straight, and it makes me wonder if Kikas wanted to get out of the front of this battle, considering how tight it is. I'm wondering if these drivers might get into it if they run into each other at the curb for the Blanchimont, or maybe the chicane. Maybe they get into it and end up making a mistake, and Kikas can sort of roll right on past. There's plenty of time left. There's just under 15 minutes left to go in this race, so if any of these drivers ahead of him make a mistake, he'll not only be through, but he'll also have a little bit of space to roam.
Yeah, of course, and because also he could be saving a little fuel. Maybe some of these drivers in front of him did not get enough fuel in the tank to complete the rest of this race. Maybe he's trying to shave a little bit by drafting off James Huth, Greg Carr, Leif Peterson. I mean, these cars are trying to line up nose to tail pretty much almost for the most part of this race, so it could be a little bit of strategy involved for Matthew Kikas.
Also, I do believe we owe the people an answer, so I guess, do you want to cue him one more time, maybe?
Of course, we'll go cue our friend one more time. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to cue
the Chuck as we finish it off for him and make sure that we get it in and bring you tonight's answer to the Chuck McDuck trivia question we asked at the beginning. What was the original length of the second de Spa-Francorchamps back in 1921 when this track first opened? And the answer to that question, almost 15 kilometers. It was a 14.9 kilometer, 9.31 mile circuit that ran deep into the Ardennes forest and then was chopped up and shortened a little bit to the, only emphasis on the only, 4.3 mile circuit that we have here.
What's amazing is that track back then during that time period was almost, if not a little bit bigger than what now is the Nürburgring. So it's amazing to see how much bigger this track was and how amazing it was to drive back in the day.
How wild some of the footage is if you go back from the 60s to the 70s in particular to see what some of the drivers did going around this circuit. It is thoroughly impressive the way they have tackled this place over the years. This is the battle that is currently raging for 6 still, where no one's made the passes too much yet. But Chris Pius has started to gap Vaughn Glaze just a little bit. It's now up to 0.6 of a second between the 9 and the 41.
Yeah, Vaughn Glaze now starting to run out a little bit of gas right there by the looks of it as far as his momentum, as he's got passed by Chris Pius, but still holding strong over Leif Peterson and Greg Carr, who are not too far behind. We'll have to keep a track, see what they do as they come out of Blanchimont and head towards the bus stop chicane.
Waiting on Peterson to try and hold off Greg Carr in that 28 machine, and maybe James Huth will try and redeem himself after he looped himself around and drug himself into the thick of this battle. Glaze still ahead of the group. Peterson with a decent exit out of the chicane, so he should be safe coming up towards La Source.
As they head up to La Source, once again, you see everyone just accordion effect, all nice and close together, then spread out off corner exits. So a lot of momentum is working against some of these drivers as they come across the start-finish line now and head up Eau Rouge.
Coming up through Eau Rouge, Rédillon, and back to Lecombe. We'll see whether or not Greg Carr gets a decent run out of Rédillon. Looks like he's going to be able to gain a little bit on Leif Peterson, but not enough to try and make the pass at turn 7 and look at something and look to do something with Lecombe.
As they come to Lecombe, it's still going to be Christopher Pies holding strong over Vaughn Glaze as well as Leif Peterson. Greg Carr gains a little bit of momentum through Lecombe and still tries to close some ground, but Leif Peterson also gets a good exit off of Lecombe.
And away down towards Bruxelles once again. It is still Peterson who is ahead of Carr and still trying to chase Glaze, who has kept it in one piece since that early mistake.
Ooh.
Here's one lap car gets stuck down right on the exit of No Name. And now big run. Here comes Lee Peterson. Looks to the inside at Poulon, but nothing for the 913 yet.
Talk about a little excitement right there. How that would wake you up if you were coming out of No Name seeing a car stuck out there.
You see him right there on the exit. You just have to be very careful. Make sure you stay within the curbs, which I think is a little bit more important here at Spa than everywhere else, because it seems like people abuse the curves at Spa more than just about anywhere else.
I could not agree with you more on that. I mean, we've seen a lot of drivers throughout multiple different races abuse the out-of-bound track limits here, and amazingly so, we've seen some people be able to overcome it and take home some great victories.
Glaciers there now. What can Carr do? Can he get a good run on Peterson into the corner? Not really at this stage. It's all just sort of a parade at this point, because they're all trailing and chasing Vaughn Glacier in that 41 machine. Big dives for Peterson, big dives for Carr and Kuth and Kikas and company, but they're all still keeping it together and in one piece as they carry on here. Antonio McCartney trying to hold on Charlie Yao. That might be the best battle, because Yao's close enough to where he may be able to make a move coming into the chicane.
See what he can do now. Charles Yao, though, had a great run as they head up to Blanchimont. He's going to take a peek to the inside. Will he try to make it work? There we also see McCartney hold up and go a little bit too wide. And now coming out of Blanchimont, he runs really wide, goes out of the track limits. Will he be able to get back? No cut course penalty by the looks of it. And now into the bus stop chicane. And then here comes Kenny Brown out of nowhere.
Kenny Brown nearly ended up in trouble. There goes Charlie Yao, who continues to just hold off Kenny Brown. You thought he might have a chance to go after McCartney coming through the chicane, but instead had to play defense on that number 23. Will now try and catch back up to McCartney. Get a good run out of La Source. Locks at the brakes, though, so that might kill his opportunity to make something happen before we even get to Lacombe.
He has lost a lot of momentum, Charles Yao, on McCartney as they come across the start-finish line. Hit up Rouge and Ray Dillon as they now work their way up through that section down the Camel Straight. Coming up next, and it looks like Charles Yao lost a ton of momentum.
Charlie Yao lost a lot of momentum, so now Kenny Brown might be on the attack. We'll wait and see what the 23 does. Can he get enough of a drive to make the move happen at turn 7, the entrance to Lacombe? Will the 17 duck out and try and block? Not yet. Still in good shape is Charlie Yao, so he'll hang tight, and Kenny Brown will keep his position for the moment.
But here comes Charles Yao on McCartney. Gets a great run out of Lecombs as they go down into Bruxelles, and still tries to hold the line, holds the apex, hugs it as tight as he can to get a good run off corner exit to head up to No Name still as they work their way through. A great run off of that corner as well off of No Name as they head to Pouan.
They all carry on. Polasek still your leader now, 6.4 seconds to the good. He's been virtually unchallenged at the front of this. Meanwhile, James Hugh with a good run up through Blanchimont. Maybe, just maybe, this is the lap he tries to pull a move on Vaughn Glacier at the chicane.
We'll have to wait and see as they approach the chicane. Will he be able to make the pass? The answer will be no, not this time around, as he lost a ton of positions over Leif Peterson and Greg Carr as he tries to gain it back as they come out of the bus stop chicane.
Good stuff here. Chris Pires with a very solid run up in fourth, trying to go catch John Malia, who is about 15 seconds up the road from Chris Pires. So bit of a gap there, probably more insurmountable than Pires can overcome in the final 7 minutes of tonight's race. But still good stuff here amongst these 5 or 6 cars who've been sticking them all night. McCartney and Yao also in good shape. Jordan Dyer and Mark Harris now also in a good battle for 24th and 25th.
Just give a little love to those guys as Jordan Dyer holds on to the 24th position. Marco Harris still in the 25th position and that number 42 as they are working their way through the Stavelot section of the course. Marco Harris ran a 2:18 last time by compared to Jordan Dyer's 2:15, so both of them are showing different speed capabilities as they come out onto the back straightaway towards Blanchimont. And Marco Harris seems to be getting a good run. He might have something for him before they get to the bus stop chicane.
I must admit, Jordan Dyer's region may have one of the best names in all of PCA. It is the Shinsland region, which translates to beautiful lands. And if you're wondering where that is in North America, how about the center of Iowa that runs right through the heart of the state, that region covering the state capital of Des Moines, which in and of itself is a French name, which I think is very in keeping with the theme here. We're not terribly far away from France in the Ardennes Forest in Belgium. So Dyer hailing from Iowa. Meanwhile, Mark Harris a little bit further back on the racetrack and a little bit in decent shape from the Connecticut Valley region, which covers Connecticut in its entirety and Western Massachusetts. It jumps up into Springfield, the largest city in Western Massachusetts. So we've got an Iowan and a Connecticut Valley band fighting for position a little bit further back here.
That's one of the amazing things about the PCA. You get different regions and people competing against one another. I mean, like you just said, someone from Iowa going neck to neck as we see Marco Harris looping around through Lecombs there and has to try to see if he can get it turned around quick enough as more cars. William Anderson goes around and gets by him, but he is now having to take one of the exit roads to get back out onto the race circuit.
So it will be Harris who slides back. William Anderson jumps up ahead of Harris. Dyer now well clear, and that effectively ends that battle. And it's now pretty much just Charlie Yao and Kenny Brown fighting for spots. And then this group here between Leif Peterson, Greg Carr, Vaughn Gleiss, who is falling back behind the 28 machine. And now we'll see, can James Youth pull off the move here with the run up to Rouge ready on, and then maybe this time through Lacombe.
Only time will tell as they work their way up through. Matthew, I'm watching a couple of battles as we see that battle right now.
There goes Youth to the outside. Will Gleiss put up a fight this time? Answer is still yes. He'll dive it in deep. He's not going to give it up just yet. It will be all on Youth to get the good run and pinch Vaughn coming through Lacombe and coming to Bruxelles. He didn't quite get it there. We think that he may just dive down to the inside. Here comes Kigas to the outside at Bruxelles. But nothing for the 41 just yet, as I think that should lock down the spot, at least for the moment, for James Youth.
I don't know. Here comes a crossover move as they come out of No Name now. Here they head to Puon. Will he be able to hold the position as they head to the braking zone? I think now Youth will be able to get it as Kikis is all over the back bumper of Vaughn Gleiss.
So Gleiss is slid back at the very end of this race, and it's now Kikis who will be in hot pursuit of the 41. Meanwhile, all eyes on Polasek, who I think is going to get 2 laps here. Looks like he should be clear of the about 2:14 mark that he would need to hit in order for his next lap to be the last one. So looks like it's 2 laps to go most likely in this race for Michael Polasek to pick up win number 4.
4 wins in a row. We might be seeing a trend here of another former champion of the PCA about to show this season if this keeps up.
Speaking of Wade Levesque, who swept Season 2 and Series 2 of PCA with these 911 RSR machines and was so quick in August and September of last year.
Just absolutely dominating.
Dominated, and that's what we're seeing with Polasek, though. I feel like it's been a little bit different because Levesque, even though he's practically a pro and world championship level driver, I don't necessarily know if he quite had the speed, but or had to deal with too many other drivers with speed. But Polasek, I think, has clawed his way up to this. He was so quick last year, couldn't quite put it together. Got his first victory at Mid-Ohio to kick off Series 4 and just has not looked back ever since.
No, he hasn't. I mean, he has absolutely dominated and came to put on a great show and dominating performance, and really like to see what he can do at the next following tracks such as Road Atlanta, Sebring, Silverstone, and Road America.
4 pretty impressive road courses to round out the season as Polasek continues to work his way around the track and comes to Pujon and will slide through this Campus Tableau section of the racetrack down at the very end. And still nothing doing between Gleiss and Kikas, and Mark Huth is the next one up the road. He started to close in on some of these drivers, but still Gleiss and Kikas is calling Huth to run off, and Leif Peterson as well. They've all driven away from Vaughn Gleiss, who slid back as this race is wound down.
Let's take a look at that battle right there with Chris Pies, Leif Peterson, and Greg Carr. I mean, those 3 are still within close fighting distance of each other, about 6/10 to 7/10 separating as they're now heading into the Campus and Stavelo section of the course. And still Christopher Pies in that number 9, holding strong over Leif Peterson as they come out of Stavelo and head into turn 16.
Out of Samala they go, into turn 16 they go. All about Pies and Peterson racing for 4th and 5th. Second and third are pretty well sorted. It's 7 seconds from Polisek to Lisner and 5 seconds from Lisner to Malia. So your podium should not be any sort of issue whatsoever, so long as they keep their cars clean and in one piece. But here comes Michael Polisek around La Sauce to come down the old front straightaway and take the white flag in tonight's PCA Club and Pro race at Second Spa-Francorchamps. One more lap for Michael Polisek to pick up win number 4 of the season.
Pure domination for Polisek has led since the drop of the green flag here and has not looked back. Can anyone stop him? Only time will tell as we continue on for the final lap here at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps.
Polisek in very good shape. Meanwhile, Shababan Yopanja is still leading that club class and still in good shape to maintain that over Liam Radzitis in the 14th spot. Maybe, I call it 8-9 seconds-ish between Banjopajai and Radzitis, but Banjopajai en route to a first ever class win if he can hang on in the number 770.
Talk about excitement and getting the monkey off your back here with a win at Spa, and what a place to get their first win at such a historic course. So looking forward to see what he can do as he comes to complete his final lap.
Really impressive stuff, I think, if he can make it happen as Michael Polisek winds his way through the Campostabile complex of the racetrack. One more time for the 45 through these corners, and then it's just that blast up through the Cavapata Freya and Blanchimont, and then the run up through the chicane as the timer has hit zeros. It is all down to the final part of this last lap for Polisek as he makes that final run towards the chicane.
Kicks in the afterburners and heads down this final stretch of road, heading towards Blanchimont for the final time. Make sure to hit the marks before having to jam onto the brakes into the bus stop chicane for the final time here. Through Blanchimont, perfectly exiting off the corner, and now hitting into the braking zone for the bus stop for the final time.
Michael Polisek down on the brakes one more time through the chicane. It's just the run up this final stretch into La Sauce, and he will, upon clearing the hairpin, be a 4-time winner, get his 4th win in a row, and take a stranglehold on the points lead in the pro class, the premier class of PCA Sim Racing in Series 4. Michael Polisek, flag to flag, wire to wire, untouched and unstoppable at Spa. He wins Round 4 of Series 4 of PCA Sim Racing at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Jason Lisner comes across the line, finishes second. We wait on John Malia to try and bring it home in third. He will do just that to round out the podium as Chris Pies and Lee Peterson battle one more time. But it will be Pies who gets the better of Peterson for 4th. Peterson finishes 5th. Greg Carr will be 6th. James Hughes 7th. Vaughn Glaze 8th. Matthew Kikas 9th. And Mark Hughes looks set to finish off the top 10. Taylor Burris.
Great battles throughout the whole track, but let's still see with Shabala Banjopaja. He is by himself, pretty much by himself, to take home his first club win and first ever win in the PCA competition. As he comes across the line here, he will win in the club class.
Biggest moment, I think, for Shaibal Banjopanchai in PCA Sim Racing. In his PCA Sim Racing career, he's never done anything like this. He's a class winner now. That 770 takes it over Liam Radzitis, who came home in 13th. Issues for Arthur Chan, who I think is out of fuel here right at the very end of the race. He's got it pulled over right by La Source, so just too little fuel for him. And I believe same story for Antonio McCartney as well. Those two just missing the fuel numbers.
Unfortunate for those two drivers. So Kenny Brown would move up to the P3 position in the club class after that.
Kenny Brown gets it done over Josh Vieira and Jacob Schumann company. How tough, though. What a heartbreak for some of these drivers, for Arthur Chan, for Antonio McCartney. Everybody just stuck there with nothing to do, no fuel left to finish off this race.
Unfortunate indeed. They'll have to try again when we head to Road Atlanta, see if they can find any way to recover.
At this stage, we will bring you your full field rundown and tell you where your favorite driver finished as Michael Polisek picks up his 4th win in a row over Jason Lisner and John Malia. Christopher Pies finished in the 4th spot. 5th was Leif Peterson in the 913. Greg Carr finished in the 6th spot. 7th went to James Youth. Ron Glash finished in the 8th position. 9th was Matthew Kikis. Mark Youth finished in the 10th position.
Chris Walsh will come home in 11th with your club class winner, Shabala Benjobaije, in 12th overall. Liam Rositas will come home 2nd in club class and 13th overall with James Patak in 14th. Kenny Brown will round out your podium in the club class and finish 15th overall. Joshua Vieira will come home 16th with Jacob Schum in 17th. Charles Yao 18th, James Craig 19th, and Jake Steinbrink in 20th.
William Anderson was 21st this evening. 22nd was Jeremy Mazzariello. Brett Holmes was the final car in the lead lap in 23rd. 24th was Arthur Chan and Antonio McCartney. 25th, those two running out of fuel on the last lap. Carlos Lopez finished in 26th. 27th was Jonathan Schum. Robert Cottle finished in 28th. 29th was Peter Yuksha. And Robert Coy finished in 30th.
31st goes to Marco Harris with R.E. Moore Jr. in 32nd. Alberto Fonseca in 33rd with Mario Gonzalez in 34th. Jordan Dyer will come home in 35th with Brian Mosing in 36th. Frank Santora will come home in 37th with Matthew Mitchell in 38th and Ty Panik in 39th. Rounding out your top 40 is your front row starter, Jeff Lewis, who had an unfortunate issue.
Matthew Siddle finishes in 41st. 42nd is Ryan Heidenreich. Doug Menzel finishes in 43rd. And 44th was Grant Tonke. Sheriff Starkey finished 45th this evening. 46th was Dewey Kang. Michael McCoy finished 47th. 48th was Michael Evans. Jonathan Waltman 49th. And Michelle Levesque 50th. Christian Rava, Aaron Ash, and Lon Ray Sarubi round out your top 50. And we now turn our attention to the race winner, Michael Polisek, 4 for 4 in the pro class of PCA Sim Racing in Series 4. And each one of these wins has been a little bit different, but tonight it was just outright total domination. You had no challenge over the course of these 60 minutes. So where did you find the patient practice to just dust everybody in the race?
Well, after VIR in the tight confined corners, that track has, I mean, like, it's basically a car park or an autocross course, and you're like going below 50 miles an hour. This track was just such a breath of fresh air. So I spent hours upon hours just learning the intuitive line and just pretty much kind of allowing myself to just let myself go and allow the car to do pretty much what it wanted. And if you do that, then you'll be able to go fast around these fast and flowing tracks, which Spa effectively is. And the line here is really intuitive and pretty easy to learn. And I'm usually not that quick around Spa, so I'm very happy that things turned out the way they did this race.
You come away with your 4th win in a row, which, when we consider how tough last year was for them to all just sort of be coming in and clicking here, what's it say about what you've learned over the course of the past year change? What does it say about how much you've learned about this car in the past year?
Well, the car, the car felt pretty good around here. I did pretty much everything I wanted. Got a little loose through Blanchimont, but everywhere else it felt super solid. And pretty much what I've learned as a driver is just learning a lot more about the subtleties of the line, feeling the traction of the tires. New tire model V7's definitely a step up from V6, and it's a lot more intuitive and a lot easier to drive once you get used to it. And really just a matter of learning to deal with the pressure of these races, especially the start of these races. Turn 1 at Montreal, Turn 1 at Mid-Ohio, and the run through Eau Rouge here.
We turn our attention to Road Atlanta next week, a favorite course, a sort of jack of all trades course next Friday night. Expectations heading down to Georgia for our next event.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It's a fun track. I really enjoy it. And I'm looking forward just to see what type of racing is going to be there. It's a really easy track to pass on, so I'd imagine there's going to be plenty of great battles through the field, and it's definitely going to be a pretty fun race.
And as always, Michael, take a moment to send your thank yous, your shout outs, and let the people know who makes it happen for you and all the folks at Lone Wolf with that fantastic new livery that we saw over the course of the night. Well done to your painters and everybody over there.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank Splash and Go for, as you said, Pike, the amazing paint that they did on this. And a couple of other cars as well. I'd like to thank my team, Lone Wolf Motorsports, for all the support that they've been giving me. I'd like to thank my sponsors, Grand Prix New York and GT Hub. And I also like to thank the Northern New Jersey region for their continued support and everything that they've done. And I'd like to thank the PCA for putting this amazing event on. And I'd also like to thank my dad, my family, and everyone else who's watching for giving me all the support these 4 races. They haven't been easy.
Michael, congratulations on win number 4 in a row. We'll see if you can go 5 for 5 next Friday night at Road Atlanta.
All right, we'll see. Thank you very much.
Michael Polasek finishes P1 tonight. P2 was Jason Lisner, and we'll wait and see if we can get a hold of Lisner in a little bit. But John Malia is available, and we will take our moment to speak with the driver who finished 3rd in the pro class. He is with Taylor Burns.
Here with John Malia coming home in P3 tonight at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. And John, a great effort for you here tonight. Tell us about how the race was for you and any challenges you had to face.
It was a tough race. Spa's always tough for me. I just tried to keep it on the track and, hold on to Jason, but he was a little bit too quick for me to hang on to him. So I just kind of consolidated 3rd.
What did you find the most difficult part about racing at this track?
You could get a lot of incident points, so I was conscientious of that, trying to stay on track, and I might have been a little bit too conservative, but I made it. I'm happy with my
All right. Well, before we let you go, is there anyone you would like to thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank all you guys, because you guys do an awesome job with the broadcast, and all my competitors, always fun to race with them, and of course my family.
All right, that is John Malia coming home in P3.
Malia comes home in P3 this evening. We'll turn our attention to a man who has waited a long time for an opportunity to get up here, and a man whose drive tonight was distinctive. Chabal Banyopanjan, you come in and get your first ever class win. You are a PCA Sim Racing class winner in the club class tonight at Spa. How's it feel? What's it mean to you? How excited do you have to be for this one? So excited. In fact, he's speechless, I think. Taylor Burris.
I think I have to agree with you on that one.
In fairness, given how wild his night was and how great his run was, no question, he absolutely has earned it, I think, over the course of the evening. We'll wait and see if we can get Chabal to maybe speak a few words here in a little bit, but just a really impressive run, I think. And Dewey made a point of it in chat, and I think made a very good point of it, that he saw speed out of Chabal all week long and had clearly been putting all the practice time in and all the opportunities that he could get possible just to try and get some speed into this thing and get some experience behind this thing. And eventually, I think, did make it happen all the way around. And we'll see now, maybe one more time, if we can get Chabal in here. And Chabal, you're a class winner in PCA. You got the club class victory tonight. How's it feel? What does it mean to you? He's still speechless. Still totally at a loss for things. So Taylor Burris, we'll take a moment here. While Chabal is getting himself sorted, Road Atlanta next week. Pretty much ubiquitous on every single road calendar that you see in this sim. A track that PCA's visited before. It was the Series 3 finale last November. So do we expect any surprises? Do we have a hunch that things are going to go a little bit different? As we now see if we can get another word with Chabal Banyopanjan. Chabal, you're a winner. You're a class winner in PCA. How's it feel? What does it mean to you?
It's a pretty incredible feeling. Never thought I would be here. It's really, really great.
Really great, really fantastic. Dewey Kang told us that he said he saw you put in a lot of practice time over the course of this week. So what did you do to prepare for tonight's race at Spa?
Surprisingly, I actually had a little bit of time the last few nights this week. Most of the time I don't get to just because of work and stuff, but I just try to put in the seat time. I think that's all you need sometimes.
A little bit of experience never hurts, and to carry this one in, to get it done, to have the great run that you did tonight, which was, I think, a career best for you, and to bring it back to the Metropolitan New York. We've got 2 Metropolitan New York members between you and John Malia who come away with podiums or class victories tonight. So a strong night for the New Yorkers here in Belgium.
Yeah, I know. This is a great region. We got great drivers, great coaches. It's really great.
Who do you need to thank for making tonight's run possible?
Gotta definitely thank my wife for letting me disappear to my man cave whenever I had a free second. Definitely the PCA for organizing such an amazing event, and you guys for giving us a great show.
Well, Sebon, congratulations on your class victory. Thanks so much, as always, for taking the time to talk to us, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week at Road Atlanta.
Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good night.
So Sebon and gets it done and finishes everything off with a class victory tonight. And we now turn our attention to Road Atlanta next week. Taylor Burris, any final thoughts on this evening before we begin to wrap our broadcast up?
It's going to be exciting as we are now approaching 4 races left in the season. Can anybody hold off Michael Polisek? Can anyone beat him? We'll have to find out at Road Atlanta, which is probably a very interesting, difficult, but exciting track.
We also have one more interview that Taylor Burris is going to get the chance to talk to Liam Rodzitis, who came home second in the club class, and we'll let the Upper Canada region member go at it with Taylor here momentarily.
Here with Liam Rodzitis coming home second place in the club class. Liam, tell us about your race. How interesting was it to race there here at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps?
Certainly a different change of pace from all the North American tracks that we've done. It's kind of fun to go to a track that I guess more people know how to run. I think a lot of the tracks so far this season have thrown everyone a curveball. I don't think everyone really knows all the layouts, but I think this one was a layout that we all knew and all had fun driving.
What is one that you will get ready to come to the close of the season and reach?
Sorry, you cut out at the end of that.
I was a track that you were looking to as we reach the second half of the season.
Ooh, I'll be honest with you, I haven't actually taken that close of a look at our future schedule. I've been going by race, getting prepared for the season ahead, so I don't have an answer to that.
I'll let you go. Who would you like to thank as far as that helps your race from week?
Well, it's a long list of fans, friends, and family who've been watching for 4 seasons of racing. My grandparents, my parents, my aunts and uncles, my cousins, and usually my brothers watch the videos after the fact. So big thanks to all of them for watching, supporting the series. Yeah.
All right. Well, that was Liam Rodzitis coming in P2 in the club class.
And it's now time to turn our attention to next Friday night. We head to Road Atlanta for the 5th round of Series 4 of PCA Sim Racing. And that will be April 3rd, 8 p.m. right here on the iRacing Esports Network on YouTube. But before we get to that point, so many events to tell you about. It starts tomorrow afternoon, 4 p.m. IndyCar comes to iRacing with the iRacing IndyCar Challenge from Watkins Glen. You'll be able to catch some of the stars of IndyCar at 4 p.m. on the IndyCar YouTube and Facebook channels and the iRacing Twitch channel. Then Sunday, if you love NASCAR, you'll want to watch round 2 of the eNASCAR Pro Invitational Series from Texas. It will be March 29th at 1 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1, and the Fox Sports app. Then the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series returns to action. Round 4 from Bristol Motor Speedway takes place March 31st. This next Tuesday night, 9 p.m. on the iRacing Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube channels before we're back at it on the Podium Esports Twitch channel and the Esports Racing League Twitch channel. First with the ERL Premier Series from Texas Motor Speedway next Wednesday night, April 1st at 7:40 p.m. back-to-back with round number 4 of the Cars Esports Tour, 3 rather, from Five Flags Speedway. That'll be 9 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/Podium Esports. It's time to wrap up our broadcast tonight from the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. So for Gary Sexton and John Theodore at Podium Esports, for our producer Cisco Scaramuza, for my colleague Taylor Burris in the booth, for Kyle Barnes, Doug Atkinson, and Jim Emig, Mike Knight, and everybody that makes PCA Sim Racing go, I am James Pike, the voice of Podium Esports. Thank you so much for watching Podium Esports broadcast of PCA Sim Racing on the iRacing Esports Network. We hope to see you back here tomorrow afternoon at 4 for the debut, the iRacing IndyCar Challenge from Watkins Glen. Until then, good night.